Hey everybody, and welcome back to Wigs Gaming. I told you the Ultimate Pokemon Picker was coming back, and today it is. We are starting a brand new series. Let's see if this one will do as well as the best, because I cannot believe how well the worst Pokemon of each type went, and I do want to thank you guys for your support. We're at about 320 subscribers now. When I first put out the original worst normal type video, we were at a total of, I believe, like 25 subscribers. So just want to say I really appreciate that. And today, quite simply, we're going to talk about what are the ugliest Pokemon of every single generation. And we're going to start with normal, just like we did before. So I'm going to take a look and see what I think might be the ugliest looking Pokemon. And to be completely honest with you guys, I think it's definitely a tie. I think it's a tie between Chansey and Lickitung, but I have to give the edge over to Lickitung. When you look at this thing, let me zoom it in for you guys, okay? Let me zoom it in. Do you see this thing and you think, oh man, that Pokemon looks so cool, dude. I really want to use that. I can't wait to use that. Do you see this and think that? Because if you do, you might need some therapy, okay? There is no reason whatsoever for you to think this is so cool. No, it's not. It's just not. Don't even try it. It's not. It just isn't. Generation 2. What is the ugliest Generation 2 Pokemon? Well, there are a couple of options here. And honestly, to me, it's Miltank. And it's for a couple different reasons. Miltank is a pretty good Pokemon, but one of the things that you hate about Miltank is you really hate who uses it. So in Generation 2, right, you have Whitney who uses Miltank. And Whitney is a difficult gym leader, and that Miltank destroys you time and time and time and time again. But what I hate so much, first off, it's a stupid design. Why did they made it look like a cow, but it's pink, and it's not really a cow, and I don't, it has a tail that, I just don't get it. It should have probably evolved or had a pre-evolution form. They never did that, whatever. But also, Whitney is the whiniest gym leader in the world. Like, you can't tell me that that didn't bother you, that she cries when she loses and doesn't give you the badge. And you don't even know that she doesn't give it to you because no kid playing Generation 2 is reading the text, so they don't even know that they don't have the third badge until they're halfway through the game and they realize they can't progress without it. All because she was too whiny about the fact that she lost. So just because of that, I hate this thing. And I think it's disgusting. Generation 3. Let me zoom back out. Generation 3, man. This is another tough one. And it's definitely a cross between 2 or 3 of them. Slacking is probably one of the worst abomination of an overall design from a look standpoint in a very long time. The problem is Slacking is such a good Pokemon, I just can't do that to it. The tie I'm honestly thinking about is either Skitty or Cast Form, but the answer is obviously Cast Form. I don't know how Nintendo got away with this at the ESRB, but are you really going to tell me this is not a head on top of a pair of balls? Like, this game, it should have gotten an mature rating, but it didn't. Gen 4. I love our boy Bidoof so much. But the good news is there is a Pokemon in Generation 4 that has ugly in its name. So I think we can all agree that even Nintendo themselves knew they were creating an abomination. Gen 5. Honestly, if I had to decide, I would probably pick Deerling or something. However, Watchog looks like he's on shrooms 99.9% of the time. Like, look at him. Tell me that Watchog doesn't look like he just had, like, an entire multiple weeks worth of drug use to the point where he has no idea where he is 24/7. That's all I see in his eyes. That's all I see in his eyes. Gen 6. Generation 6. Wow. I actually really like a lot of these. I think it's probably Diggersby. When you look at him, first off, I'm a little bit concerned about how much mud is on this dude. Like, how are you so comfortable with all that mud on you? Why is he smiling? This guy looks like Big Chungus. And if you don't know what Big Chungus is, look it up. This is like Big Chungus if he like rolled around in a bunch of deer crap outside. That's what he looks like. And what is this? I see his hands are here. What is this, a belt? What is this supposed to be, dude? I don't understand. I really don't. Generation 7, this really does have to go to Gumshoes. I don't think anybody denies that that's the case. I think Nintendo definitely was having a little bit of fun. You can look at this and you can really compare and see there might be some similarities to a certain former president that a lot of people know of. I see the similarities myself as well. I think Nintendo, the Pokemon company, was just having a little bit of fun with that. It does look awful, though. I don't ever look at this Pokemon and think, oh, I want to use this. This looks so cool. I really don't want to. And when you look at some of the other options, a lot of the other options are pretty good. So I'll give it that. Generation 8. What is the ugliest Generation 8 Pokemon? Well, I'm gonna... Ooh. Yeah. Greedent is... He's happy and he's jolly and he looks like he's enjoying his life. But my guy, you are so fat. Like, his tail has got to be like 90% of his weight, but even his body. But think about it, too. If you're carrying around that tail all the time, how are you so fat, dude? It makes no sense at all. I don't really like the color scheme on Greedent either, to be honest with you. I think Squovit actually had a better color scheme. I think they ruined it with Greedent, quite honestly. And Generation 9, I would have to go... Oh, wow. No, who am I kidding? It's Dunsparce. People asked for a Dunsparce evolution for a long time. And I understand that because Dunsparce is such a unique Pokemon in of itself, that it's a very difficult thing to do, to find a way to get an evolution for Dunsparce. But regardless of that, you literally just added a tail to it and another extra couple of bodies and added an extra Dun into its name. Creative, funny, yes. But from a design standpoint, from a Pokemon that everybody has loved for so many years but never actually got, an evolution until now, expectations were higher, and instead we got an absolute abomination. Now, what is the ugliest normal-type Pokemon? Well, guys, I don't think we need to question it. There is literally a pair of balls down here with a head on it. There's no other possible answer. This is out of my hands at this point. No one disagrees. I guarantee no one disagrees. If you do, feel free to comment down below and let me know, but I highly doubt it. Anyway, those are the ugliest Pokemon in all generations for the normal type. Join us tomorrow as we hop into the fire type. See you then. Hey everybody, welcome back to more of the ugliest Pokemon here on Wigs Gaming. Last time around we did the ugliest normal types of every generation, and you guys really enjoyed it, so I'm going to continue. One thing I do want to make sure you guys know is I plan on, just like last time around, getting these out every single day. So make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything at all. And please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. I really look forward to seeing a lot of feedback on the video. And please comment below what you think the ugliest fire types are as well. Without further ado, let's get started. And Generation 1 has a lot of pretty good fire types, all things considered. I like a lot of the designs, but I think we can all agree that Magmar, as much as I like it as a Pokemon, clearly has a butt on its head. And there's nothing else we can do other than acknowledge the fact that they literally put butt cheeks on the top of Magmar's head. So that's all we need to know about that, okay? Magmar, definite, no question about it, is the ugliest. Gen 2. Gen 2 is going to have to go, honestly, to Slugma. Again, I talked about it probably a couple times before about how I do like Slugma and Magcargo's overall design, but its typing really hurts it. But just look at this guy. Like, this guy is really derpy. I don't know is this his mouth right here at the bottom, or does he not have one? He looks like he's got some slobber coming out here. He's like, I'm Slugma. Like, that's how he sounds. That's how I think about the way that he sounds. And if any of you guys just clicked off the video, you understand my point after hearing that. Generation 3, we've got 3 chickens, 2 camels, a turtle, and Jesus. This thing literally looks like Jesus. I don't know if that's what they were going with, but that's what it looks like. Honestly, out of all of these, I love Blaziken's design. I think Combusken really just lacks. When you see Torchic, and then it becomes a chicken, but it doesn't really become a fighting chicken, and then you get Combusken. And I just have questions with this thing, right? So, first off, compared to Blaziken, right? So, Blaziken, it grows fur on its legs, right? And it gets taller, and its face looks completely different. Blaziken arguably doesn't even look like a chicken anymore. You know what I mean? But Combusken, what did you do? What have you become? And now one thing I thought was interesting too is like you're going, it's a fire Pokemon and it's a chicken, right? So fire flying made a lot of sense as this evolutionary line was going, on its way up. But instead, they wound up going the fighting route, but they still kept it looking like a chicken. Unique in the sense that I guess not every flying Pokemon, every bird-looking Pokemon has to be flying, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, I think they missed the mark there. And I think while I love Blaziken and I'm happy it's a firefighting type, because so many firefighting types came after it, I think a lot of people would have liked a fire flying. I really do. I think that would be really cool. And that would be one of the only ones, I think, period, other than Ho-Oh and Moltres. Or Charizard. I guess, well, there would be another Charizard, but still, I still think it'd be better. Generation 4. When I look at Heatran, all I see is just it's really hard to explain. But I guarantee, dude, Heatran got no women in high school. Like, no question. He got no women in high school. Like, he has a massive underbite. He probably stutters all the time, and he's got like horns coming out of his head. He was like that kid in the cafeteria at lunchtime that you'd see who just sit there by himself and no one would talk to him. That's exactly who Heatran was. No friends, doesn't get any women, and it's because he looks like an abomination and probably not much else. Generation 5. I mean, it's not that hard. Honestly, I destroyed this thing in the worst video, and I'm going to continue to destroy it now. A lot of you guys told me, you said, guys, you said to me, you guys said, Heatmore is an anteater. I understand now. However, that doesn't change the fact that this thing is the ugliest abomination I've ever set my eyes on. It's got one eye creeping out the side, its other eye on the other side. Okay, I don't see a nose. Where's this thing's mouth? I don't see it. What? Game Freak? Game Freak. What is this? What's that supposed to be, Game Freak? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? We talked about this earlier, man. Are you getting away with stuff from the ESRB? We talked about this already. We talked about this. No, sir. No Heatmore for me. Gen 6. I love all of them except one. And I'll tell you which one it is. It's Delphox. They went with a fire psychic typing. I love it. I love fire psychic. I think it's such a creative typing. Okay? I think it's awesome. I really like it. Here's the issue. They kind of went for like a Harry Potter kind of look, where its fur looks like it's growing out into a robe and the stick is on fire. Why is there so much hair coming out of your ears? Have you no shame? It is so like it's hard to look at sometimes when you think about it. Look at all that hair coming out of its ears. Come on, man. Generation 7. Okay, Generation 7. Yeah, I don't need to explain this one. Generation 8. Oh, wow. Wow. Can I talk about, first and foremost, how much I love the Scorbunny line? I didn't want to pick Scorbunny at all, but I originally picked it because I felt like Fire would be easier, and then Scorbunny evolved into Reboot. And if you're a Naruto fan, the only thing you thought of when you saw Reboot was you said, oh my gosh, that's Kakashi. That's him. That's literally him. And I got excited when I saw that too, and I immediately loved it. Then it evolved, and we lost that, unfortunately. However, it's not the worst. The worst, to be completely honest with you guys, is Carcoal. He is a minecart full of coal. It's cool that it's a fire rock type, but my biggest problem is, honestly, look at this. Look at the little smile right there. See the little smirk? See the little smirk? He is happy that he's a cart. He is a cart of burning hot coals. And he's enjoying his life. He's happy about it. Why are you happy about that? Makes no sense. Makes no sense, dude. At least the clown-looking guy ain't happy about it. Delphox ain't happy about it. Heatmore looks depressed. Heatran has no friends. Combuskin looks serious. Schlegma sounds like this. And this dude has a butt on his head. Come on, man. Generation 9. Wow. Is it Scovillain? No, it's not Scovillain. Yes, it is. I love Scovillain. I think it's cool. Okay, I do. But Scovillain is just hard to look at. This thing 100% has no friends because it spends all its time arguing with the other Scovillain because it's fire grass. And I like the creativity. It's a two-headed monster. Fire and grass. Fire and grass are rival types. Doesn't matter. Goodbye, Scovillain. What's the ugliest? Yeah. All right. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe so that you do not miss out. Water types will come tomorrow. I'll see you then. Hey everybody, welcome back to more of the ugliest Pokemon of every single generation. Today we're going to talk about the water types, so be sure to subscribe if you are interested in seeing more, and please like the video if you enjoyed. Let me know who you think the ugliest water types are. Let's go ahead and get into it. The ugliest water type Pokemon. I think for Generation 1, we don't have to question. First of all, I cannot believe how many Generation 1 water types there are. I don't know if I commented on this last time or not, but this is a lot. But Psyduck, buddy, you had a glow up. You had a little bit of a glow up, but you definitely struggled in your childhood years, man. It happens. It is what it is. Generation 2. I think, quite honestly, I know there's a lot of Wooper fans out there. I know. Hold on, let me scroll this over. I know. If you can be that happy and have no arms, you know what? No. He has no arms and he's still embracing it. I actually respect that about Wooper. It's Politoed. It's Politoed, dude. Wooper is so happy regardless of the fact that he has no arms. It's Politoed. Moving on. Gen 3. Generation 3. What do we have here? Well, we've got a couple options. We've got Poop Fish, Heart Fish, Clam Thing, Sad Fish, Sharp Teeth Fish, Derpy Fish, Mexican Fish, Bird Fish, Whale Fish, Ice Fish, Snakefish. I'm going with Mexican Fish. I love Ludicolo. I do. I think it's cool. But it doesn't change the fact that it's an abomination. Moving on. Generation 4, Dirt Boy. Nope, we love him too much. Or do we? Nah, it's Derpy Boy. Listen, man. I think Bidoof is that kind of guy who, like, comes into your daily life, your workplace, your school, wherever, and he's like a class clown. Like, everybody likes him because he's funny. The thing is, you can like someone because they're funny, but that doesn't make you any less ugly. Like, the ugly kids get by if they're funny, but the ugly kids do not get by if they're not funny. He looks like, I take it back. I changed my trajectory on this. He doesn't look like people like him because he's funny. He looks like people like him because they make fun of him and he just puts up with it. That's really what it is. All the cool kids like him because the cool kids make fun of him, and he just acts like he likes it, but he doesn't really. And so that's why he looks like that. Generation 5. You know, I like the Pokemon, but dude, how many cysts do you have to form on your skin before you die of cancer? Like, how is this thing not died of cancer? Like, this dude has a cyst every single inch of his body. He's got big old cysts. Are you telling me none of these are cancerous? I look at this and I think this is like chicken pox gone bad. Like, what happened to this guy? What happened? Gen 6. I think it's funny because a lot of Gen 6 designs make sense, right? Like, we have 3 frogs, right? We have some crabs. I don't know what you are, but you're cool looking. You're probably supposed to be a crab too. You're a turtle. You are supposed to be an eel or a barnacle or something. That's not the word. Is it barnacle? I think you're supposed to be a barnacle. That's probably not the word. I'll think of it in a minute. You're a Slowbro, obviously. Gyarados is, you know, we know all that. And then we have a guy who is literally just a bunch of arms and hands. Where on earth did the Pokemon Company think, oh, let's make just a bunch of arms and form them together, and that's a Pokemon? Yeah. Gen 7. I have to be honest. I really don't need to explain this one. Gen 7 had some ugly designs, man. I was talking about the clown boy over here. Where was he? The clown boy. And now Bruxish. Come on, man. Gen 8. Okay. We got some options. I have talked about, and again, I think you guys said it was Dracovish, or wait, maybe that was a different one. Regardless, why? Just why? You guys were telling me in the comments that this thing is actually really good. I believe you. But it doesn't matter. Why? Why? I've been calling everything abominations throughout the duration of this series so far. But the thing is, I'm just saying that as a joke. But this thing is an actual abomination. It's literally a living abomination. Generation 9. Okay. Now look, I want to say Wiglet, okay? Because I've been commenting on everything that looks like a penis the entire time. You gotta understand, man. My channel, you know, is Wigs Gaming. Wiglet sounds close enough to my name to the point where I like it because they basically took Diglett, right? And they took Diglett, right? And then they put Wigs on it and it becomes Wiglet. I can't say no. But what I can say is Wug Trio doesn't sound like that. And this is 3 penises. 3 of them. 3 penises. The ugliest Pokemon. So we have Psyduck, Politoed, Armsboy, Bruxish. Oh, no. That's not the choice. Honestly, it's Dracovish. Why wouldn't it be? Why would it not be? Give me a reason why Dracovish is not the most ugly monstrosity abomination you've ever seen in your entire life. And if you can prove to me in the comments that this thing actually looks really, really awesome and it's not an absolute abomination, try in the comments below. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give a like on the video. Likes are good for the YouTube algorithm. Get this video promoted, continue to grow our community. I will do grass types tomorrow, so don't miss out. See you then. Welcome back. We are talking about the ugliest Pokemon that have ever existed, and we've been doing this for quite some time. Today we're going to talk about grass types. So if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. I'm getting one of these out each and every single day. So what is the ugliest grass type, you may ask? Well, one of these is not like the other, and that is Victory Bell. Victory Bell, I don't understand what it is that I look at when I see this thing. I think it's supposed to be like a fly trap, right? But it has a tail for some reason. And usually with Generation 1, they're cool with the way that they name the Pokemon. You know what I mean? Where they name the Pokemon and it sounds like it's design. Not this thing. Nope. Not this thing. What is the ugliest grass type of Generation 2, you might ask? Well, you know, there's not a lot of options. But if you're going to have to pick one, it's going to have to be the Sunflora. Do you know why? Well, the answer is quite simple. It is literally a sunflower. And you know what? I don't care for sunflowers. I don't. I really don't. You know what's funny is I get a lot of comments. I got a lot of comments on the worst types video, right? On all of them. And a lot of people said, hey, you know, some people don't care about the overall stats. They just like the way the Pokemon looks. Look, man, I apologize. You might get really triggered over the course of this series. But regardless, you know, have a positive mindset. And hey, if I'm offending your favorite Pokemon, tell me why in the comments below. Would love to hear. Would love to hear. Generation 3, man. Generation 3. I've already talked about it once before. I'm going to talk about it again. This is literally a penis. Moving on. Generation 4. Now this is where things get even funnier. Because Generation 4 thought it would be a good idea to just make this. It's like, it's just a plant. No eyes, nothing. Generation 5. You decided that it would be a really, really good idea in Generation 5 to make Cacturn again. But rather than this being a pre-evolution of Cacturn, it's just another cactus that no one cares about, just like Cacturn. Generation 6. I forgot your name. You're the middle between Chespin and Chestnut. You are fat. You need to lose some weight, bro. He's so happy about it, too. He's like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a great day. Yeah, it's going to be an awesome day. But the problem is, when you become Chestnut and you get older, look how sad he looks. Look how sad Chestnut looks. Clearly, being fat as a kid ruined your life. You need to lose some weight. Generation 7. Generation 7. Kartana. I think Kartana is a really cool Pokemon, but you know what? You know what? Here's the problem with Kartana. Here's the problem. It's literally a piece of paper. It's paper mache. That's all it is paper mache. Generation 8. This is a tough call. But I'm going to have to go with G-Max Venusaur. This is literally Venusaur if he went through a goth phase in high school. He's got the hair covering his eye. He's got one eye barely poking out. This is goth Venusaur. Generation 9. The ugliest of the ugly. I talked about Scovillain earlier in my Fire types video. I'm not going to talk about Scovillain again because there's a literal tumbleweed on this list. Sometimes I wonder what Game Freak thinks when they think, oh, a tumbleweed. That should be a Pokemon. Driving down in the desert somewhere. Oh, there's a tumbleweed going by because no one's around. You know what? That should be a Pokemon. Sure. What is it gonna be? What is the worst one? It is our favorite penis head himself. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button. I look forward to seeing your feedback. Let me know who you think the ugliest Pokemon is and why. And please subscribe if you're new. I'll have Electric tomorrow. See you then. Hey everybody, welcome back to more of the absolute ugliest Pokemon ever created. Wanted to let you guys know that I really appreciate the support in the series so far, and I'm hoping we can have that continue. Be sure if you like the video to hit the like button down below, and please subscribe if you're new. My goal by the end of this series is to be up to 500 subscribers, so I'm hoping that we can get there. I'm going to go ahead and get started without further ado, and we're going to talk about the ugliest electric-type Pokemon that has ever existed. And I do want to say something. Because I have a feeling you guys already know what I'm going to pick. You guys already think I'm going to pick either Voltorb or Electrode. Well, here's the problem. Yes, it just looks like a Pokeball. I get that. I do. But if you can be a Pokeball and you can look that happy, no, not going to happen. The ugliest Pokemon, we all know the ugliest electric Pokemon is Pikachu. Don't even question it. I expect you to get mad at me in the comments, and you can do that. It doesn't change my opinion, though. What is the ugliest Generation 2 Pokemon? Well, this is a pretty easy one. This Pokemon is literally a plug, an outlet that goes into the wall. If you had to live your life with 2 prongs coming out of the top of your head, would you be enjoying your life? This thing is an absolute abomination. Generation 3. What do we... Oh, wow. Great. Well, you guys know how I feel about Pikachu clones. You guys have known that for a while at this point. So I think the answer is quite obvious. But red is my favorite color, so I'm going to have to go with the blue one. Minun, why do you exist? You're a mouse. You don't do anything. No one likes mice, by the way. No one does. They invade your home, and all you do is set out traps and kill them. No one likes them. No one in the world says, oh, I want a pet mouse. That sounds so awesome. No, it doesn't. No one says that. No one thinks that. Okay, no one does. Generation 4, what is the ugliest Pokemon? Well, it depends on what appliance you use most of the time. Do you use your oven, your fridge, your washing machine, your lawnmower, or your fan the most? I think in most households, the lawnmower probably gets used the least amount, and mowing the lawn probably is the worst out of all of these. This, you just push a button. This stores your food. This cooks your food, and this keeps you cool. It's got to be the lawnmower, man. No one likes mowing the lawn. Moving on. Generation 5. I don't need to explain myself. Generation 6. There's a lot of Pikachus on here, and there's a Pikachu clone on here, but the answer is actually Heliolisk, because this thing is super, super tall, and I actually forgot that it even existed, which tells me enough of what I need to know. Generation 7. Cool idea, bad execution. This is a literal bus. It's a school bus. It was redeemed when it was evolved into Vikavolt, but how did this become Vikavolt? I really don't know, I don't understand, and I really don't think I want to know. I'm a little bit disturbed by the fact that this thing even exists. And can we go back to Stunfisk? I have to do it, man. I have to. Is it supposed to be a fish? It's an electric ground type, but it's supposed to be a fish. What and why? Someone explain. If you have some lore about Stunfisk, can you let me know? Oh, let's look up its Pokedex entry. What does it say? That's what we have to do. Give me a second. Stunfisk. These are the things I do to draw out the videos longer. Okay, Stunfisk. So it's a ground electric type, right? Okay, here's its regular form. What is its Pokedex entry? It's a flat, fish-like Pokemon, mostly muddy brown color, which allows it to camouflage as it hides beneath the water. It has 2 short brown fins on either side of its flat body and a bright yellow fin. Not what I was looking for. Despite looking seamlessly sluggish, they're cunning predators. What are you a predator of? Who's looking at this thing and is scared of it? Do you? Okay. Do you look at this thing? I'm scrolling over. Do you look at this thing and think to yourself, oh man, I'm so afraid of that? I'm terrified. No, you don't. And if you do, it's probably because it's so ugly you can't even stare at it. Moving on, okay? Moving on. All right, we went too long on that. Gen number 8. Are we already at Gen 8? Jeez. Generation 8. Quite honestly, a lot of these are really cool. And then, yeah. I get that they were trying to do something unique with the fossils in Generation 8. I'm not mad about that. I'm not. Do you know what I am mad about? Do you know what I really am mad about? The fact that they created, quite honestly, some of the worst things I've ever seen, and I have no desire to use them just based off the fact of how I just can't see myself taking this seriously. It's like, oh man, that was so strong. Too bad it's this monstrosity using it. It just doesn't work. I wish it did, but it won't. Generation 9. There comes a time where you have to understand you did too much. Game Freak already did, some cool stuff with a lot of old Pokemon. And then they did this with Magneton. They called it Sandy Shocks. It stands on 2 legs that are magnets now. It's growing hair. Why? Why? I mean, you could have just made a Paldean Magneton and then gave a Magnezone a whole new form, like how we had Clodsire. But instead, you just did this. I'm okay with some of the Paradox Pokemon. Like, some of them look really, really good. They do. But this is like, what did you do? What did you do? Now, honestly, I think the answer is quite clearly which one's the worst, and it's obviously Stunfisk. I think Stunfisk, unfortunately, first of all, it should be a water type. Can I look at that again? Is there anything that says why it's not a water type? Let's look this back up. I want to look at its Pokedex entry. Can I go on? Bulbapedia usually has them, right? It's in a water egg group, too. This makes no sense. It's in a water egg group. It's 25 pounds. How is that 25 pounds? Okay. Let's see. Let's look at the Pokedex in Generation 5. Here we go. It's not telling me. Where's the Pokedex entry? I mean, Ground Electric. Like, why did you think? It's not known to evolve into or from any other Pokemon. Oh, it says there's an in the anime section. Did they put him in the anime? They did actually put him in the anime. He actually looks worse in motion. I'm actually quite disappointed. It makes me more concerned. Oh, man. Okay. Minor appearances. It also appeared in the opening sequence of the black and white anime. Why would you even throw this in there? I don't understand. Here's Stunfisk, the trap Pokemon. Stunfisk hides itself in the mud and then delivers an electric jolt when its prey touches it, smiling all the while. There is no way this thing smiles. And I wouldn't either if I looked like that. That's going to do it for the video today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe if you're new. I'll bring you ice types tomorrow. Have a good one. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Wigs Gaming. We've been talking about some ugly Pokemon for quite some time now, and I think it's important that we continue it, because why wouldn't we? Now, the question I really have, though, a lot of ice types are going to be really cool. I'm going to have some hard decisions to make. But a question that I do want to ask myself is, how many Pokemon can I trash before I forget that I trashed something and I call it good on accident? I'm wondering how long that's going to take. Either way, we're going to talk about the ugliest ice types, and we're going to start with Generation 1. So if you're interested and excited for another one of these, please make sure you hit the like button on the video and subscribe if you're new. These are coming out every single day. So what is the ugliest Generation 1 ice type? Well, obviously, it's this monstrosity. They basically wanted to make this a counter to Mr. Mime and how Mr. Mime looked like a human, so they made another humanized Pokemon with Jinx. And this is what they went with. And at the end of the day, I just can't get behind it. It is straight nightmare fuel. If you ever are curious, look up Jinx's Pokemon Stadium model. That's where the nightmares truly come from, because it wasn't polished back then properly, because it was the first time they ever did a 3D model, and it was not good. It looked very scary. Very scary. Generation 2, honestly, if you're going to talk about, ugly Pokemon, it has to be, the thing that evolves into Jinx. It actually looks better than Jinx does, but I just don't like the idea that it will become this. That's what I don't enjoy at all. That's what scares me. That's why I'll never use one of these. It's like, but it becomes this. Can't do it. Can't do it. Generation 3 is actually Regice. Regice is literally just a block of ice with eyes, some sort of pattern of eyes on it. And every single Reggie is like that. These are all really poor designs. People like them because they're legendary, but they tend to forget really quickly just how unoriginal they really are. And how does this thing move? I don't see any way this thing could possibly move, but yet it still does for some reason, but it shouldn't. Generation 4. It's just a fridge. Generation 5. I kind of like the ice cream Pokemon, all things considered, man. I really do. I think it's unique. I think it's original. They're happy. They're having a good time. But then we've got Cubchoo and Beartick. First of all, have you no shame, Cubchoo? You have a booger hanging out of your nose, and then Beartick slobbers so much it's frozen. Like, you guys are disgusting. Have you no sense of hygiene? Have you no sense of shame? And then you've got Cryogonal, who's crying 24/7. And guess what? This right here that you're seeing, this right here, that's not from his eyes. His eyes are up here. This right here is his nose. He's draining snot out of his nose 24/7. None of these Pokemon have any shame, man. None of them. None of them. But the most shameless is honestly Frozen Slobber Boy. Has to be. Generation 6. They made some pretty cool Generation 6 Pokemon. Obviously, you got your Megas, and you have the fossils, and then you have just a literal coffee table. A frozen coffee table that moves. So, yeah, I mean, cool idea. I do like Avalugg as a Pokemon. It's kind of outclassed nowadays by other things, but it is also just a coffee table. Generation 7. I love Crabrawler and Crabominable. I think they're really cool. I think they're really unique. The problem is you go from Crabrawler, which is a boxing Pokemon, which is super, super cool. I thought it was fighting over there. I thought I could show you. And then you go into Crabominable, who just becomes this. Like, you go from Floyd Mayweather, like, I'm going to knock you out, I'm looking super serious, to, hey, guys, how are you today? My name is Crabominable. I'm going to punch you. Like, that's what his face looks like to me. Like, they messed up big time with this, man. Like, look at him, okay? Now, look at Crabrawler. Oh, it was right next to it. Look, good. Let's put them side by side, okay? Let's put them side by side. Tell me which one is more menacing to you, okay? Which one is more menacing to you? Do you think that Crabrawler or Crabominable is more menacing? This thing has literal boxing gloves, and if you see his animation, I don't have a camera on right now, but I'm literally doing the animation where he's got his fists up, and he's like, come on, put him up, put him up, put him up. And then Crabominable is like, boxing, yeah, great. And it's just, I'm really disappointed because I love Crabrawler. I think he looks so good. But it doesn't matter because Crabominable is an abomination. It's in its name after all, but they took it a little bit too literally, unfortunately. Generation 7. I know I really want to pick this guy or this guy, but I'm not going to do it because there is a Pokemon on this list that is just, they should have never done it. This is literally a penguin with an ice cube on its head. That's the best they could think of. A penguin with an ice cube on its head. Yeah, that's the best they could think of. Generation 9. Generation 9. I like Cetitan as a Pokemon, but I don't understand what it's supposed to be. A lot of Pokemon are based off of something or a species, a creature of some sort. Jinx was probably supposed to be a human. Regice is a block of ice because he's been in hibernation forever. You literally possessed a fridge. You're a big bear. You're a coffee table. You are a boxer. You're a penguin. What are you? I don't even know what to call this thing. Like when somebody asks me, if somebody asked me to describe Titan, I would be able to tell you it's an Ice-type Pokemon. It's bulky and fat. And that's it. I don't understand what I'm supposed to say to tell people what this is. It's not a fish. Okay? It's not any sort of animal. So what is it supposed to be? I don't understand what Titan is supposed to be. Do we want to look up the Pokedex entry on this to see what they call it? Let's do that. Hold on. Titan. Titan is considered... It is known as a Terra whale. How is this a whale? No, it is not a whale. That's not what a whale looks like. I don't believe it. I'm not accepting it. But I would have never guessed it. I definitely would have never guessed it. If you guys are enjoying the series, please, please, please make sure you hit the like button on this video. Get this video promoted. I want to continue to grow the community. My goal by the end of this is 500 subscribers. So if you have not subscribed and you've been watching this, if you've been watching these but are not subscribed, and I know who you are because every single one of these gets 1,000 plus, but I only have 350 subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get all the way up to 500 by the end of the series. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Fighting coming up, same time tomorrow. Have a good one. So what are the ugliest fighting types that have ever been created? That's really truly the question. Welcome everybody back to more of the ugliest Pokemon here on Wigs Gaming. I did just finish a stream, so I know my voice isn't going to sound the best, but we're going to get through this, okay? Because we have some very strong and controversial opinions to talk about in regards to fighting type Pokemon. So if you're enjoying the series and you want to make sure that, and you want to see more, please make sure that you hit the like button on the video down below and subscribe if you're new. 500 is the goal. By the time the fairy video comes out, I need 500 subscribers. So make sure that you do not miss out on hitting that subscribe button. Even if you want to just never watch one of my videos again, just hit that subscribe button anyway. Really appreciate it. Please do. Please make sure that you do so. Now, sorry, just fixing where my microphone is. Listen to me. Generation 1 has a lot of great fighting types. And then there's this guy. The problem with Poliwrath is no one asked for it. Poliwag to Poliwhirl was fine. Nobody asked for Poliwrath. It looks the exact same. They should have just made this a fighting type and moved on. Not to mention, anyone who plays Generation 3 games now can't even have this because you have to trade to evolve it. Actually, no, this is the Waterstone. It's Politoed you can't have. My apologies. But when you think about the other ones that are available, all these look really, really good. Like, I think these are all really good Pokemon. And they're all pretty well designed. Maybe Hitmonchan, but I'll let Hitmonchan be just because it's supposed to be Jackie Chan. Now, there's Generation 2, though. And this is where things get... Yeah. That's it. Tyrogue is, quite honestly, one of the worst designs I've ever seen. I get that it's supposed to be like a baby Pokemon and it can be Hitmontop, Hitmonchan, or Hitmonlee. The problem is, no one asked. Like, they could have just added Hitmontop to the game and moved on. Nobody asked for Tyrogue. Nobody said, oh, it would be so cool with all these baby Pokemon we're creating if we had one that could be one of 3 different Pokemon. And it looks like this, and it's Tyrogue. Nobody asked for it. Nobody did. Generation 3. The worst designed fighting type of Generation 3. Someone pointed it out to me in the comments section, and I can't unsee it now. It's Combuskin. Combuskin is a penis. You can't tell me it's not. Take its arms off of it. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. If you took Combuskin's arms away, you're literally looking at balls and a penis. Okay, somebody said it in the comments. It wasn't me. Somebody said it in the comments, and now I can't unsee it. Whoever you are, shout out to you. You are 100% correct. Make yourself known in the comments. I'll pin it. You are 100% correct. Combuskin is literally a walking penis. Generation 4 is obviously Toxicroak. This dude has a mass protruding out of the bottom of its neck, and he just acknowledges it, and he just doesn't even acknowledge it. He's cool with it. He's okay with it. Not to mention, Is this supposed to be like a little mustache or something? I don't know about you, but like mustaches are like the worst thing that anybody can ever put on their face. Like you have to connect it to a beard down below. You can't just have a mustache or you just look really, really, really bad. And Toxicroak doesn't care. He's a fighting type, and like he has some cool things that he can do. But like this thing is, and you already know the word I'm going to use, an absolute abomination, dude. Why do you exist? Generation 5. I really like a lot of the Generation 5 fighting types, including both Sock and Throw. However, taking some red dude and some blue dude and just putting a fighting robe on, a karate robe on them, and saying that they are a fighting type Pokemon is not going to fly with me, man. Now, I will say Throw is probably the worst of the two. I think Sock looks a lot cooler. But either way, they both look really bad. Like this thing is like Probopass all over again with the big eyebrows. I mean, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? Generation 6. The ugliest Mega Pokemon ever. I love Heracross to death, but they missed the mark big time. They went from one of the coolest designs of any Pokemon ever up here to this Mega. What were you thinking? I mean, look at the comparison. All the Mega Pokemon, by the way, look really good. They do. And then they have this. What did you do? When I found out Heracross got a Mega, I thought it was the coolest thing ever until I saw this and I didn't want to use it anymore. They ruined Heracross with this, dude. They did. They ruined it. No one wanted to use Mega Heracross. Generation 7. Kommo-o. I already trashed on Crab Brawler last video. I'm gonna let Crabominable pass today. Kommo-o is a dragon type with a bunch of scales on it. Yet it's not a fish. Or whatever it's supposed to be. I don't know how else to describe this thing, and I'm slowly losing my voice as you can hear, but I do want you to know that Kommo-o is one of my least favorite designs for a Pokemon ever. I think it's a cool Pokemon in the sense of its typing, and I think it's pretty strong. I would use it if I had to, but it's terrible. I don't like the design at all. Generation 8. This is quite honestly 100% Phalanx. Phalanx is another Pokemon that's kind of interesting. It's a fighting type, but it's just a Wiggler from Mario. It's not very original. Generation 9. It obviously is Quaquaval. I don't know what else to say other than the fact that it's actually Koraidon. Why, you might ask? Well, let me explain this to you. In Pokemon Violet, they had Miraidon, right? And I like that the last part of its name is called Rhydon because you ride on it, and it is your motorcycle that you take throughout the region, right? The Paldea region. And then you have Koraidon. Koraidon, just like Miraidon, has a wheel around its chest. And that wheel is supposed to spin like a motorcycle, right? The problem is, that's not what it does. This thing actually walks on its feet. So why do you look like a motorcycle? There is no point whatsoever to you looking like a motorcycle. I think Miraidon is really, really cool, but Koraidon is not at all. Terrible idea, terrible design. But there is one abomination that is the absolute worst, and that is our favorite penis head himself. Well, it is just a penis. It's not a penis head. But yeah, that's the list. That is the list right there. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Let me know who you would put on the list. I'm going to get poison types out to you tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. The goal is 500, and I will see you then. Take care. Welcome back to Wigs Gaming. Much like the last video, I'm still losing a little bit of my voice, but we will be fine by the time we do ground. I'm just recording these two back to back to get them scheduled, and then I will be able to rest until tomorrow. Now, what I want to talk about, well, obviously we already know why we're here, and it's about the poison type videos. It's about the poison type Pokemon, and if you can see the fact that I've lost brain cells, it's the fact that I can't get through this intro. Regardless, if you've been enjoying the series, make sure you hit the like button at the bottom of this video. Likes and comments are good for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you're new. I really, really, really wanted to get us up to 500. That is the goal. So let's see how that goes. Let's start with the poison types, okay? Let's talk about what the worst poison type they've ever created is. And I think the answer is quite obvious. The worst designed poison type ever made is obviously... Do we know what it is? It's Gloom! Wow, I didn't see that one coming. Gloom is literally drooling out of its mouth. Oh, I just found out that's how you can move. I just learned something. Anyway, Gloom, it literally is drooling out of its mouth. And that's all I really need to know. Everything else on here is actually kind of pretty cool looking or menacing looking in one way or another, or just its design is kind of unique. And then you have Bellsprout, but we won't talk about him. But Gloom is just Gloom. It's terrible. I mean, they call it Gloom for a reason. Generation 2. This one is quite easy as well. Quillfish has no friends. He has no evolution. He won't be getting one anytime soon. Nobody likes this thing, and it's awfully designed. I don't know why they didn't give it an evolution. If they put a Pokemon like this in a modern game, people would be extremely upset. But because it's an old game, people will live with it. Generation 3, it's Gulpin. Gulpin, I like Swalot. I think Swalot's kind of cool. But Gulpin is just very... I mean, he's basically... They're trying to depict just like a fat dude on his normal day. Like a fat couch potato type dude who just doesn't do anything but sits at his computer and plays video games. Oh, whoops. Totally not talking about me. Wait a minute. But Gulpin is just not the most ideal. I think Swalot is kind of cool. It's bigger. It's got the color scheme better. And it gets things like Amnesia and a lot of special attacking, boosting moves, which I think is cool. But Gulpin is just a green blob. And then I don't know if this is supposed to be like a leaf or something, but it's not a grass type. So that just isn't making a lot of sense to me. And then Swalot doesn't even have it anymore. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What is going to be the worst poison type of Generation 4? Well, I said that he was the worst fighting type. I did. The ugliest. Sorry, not the worst. The ugliest. But there's something on the list known as Stunky. Stunky is a skunk. Has anybody ever looked at a skunk and thought, oh, that skunk looks so cute. I should rescue it? Exactly. I didn't hear anybody say anything either. Moving on. Okay, so... I said before that I actually really liked Trubbish and Garbodor, but when you're talking about ugly Pokemon, you have no choice but to choose Trash and just Trash itself. It's a tie between the two of them. I'll put Garbodor on here. I like Garbodor and Trubbish. I do, but they're literal trash Pokemon, so they have to be on here. Generation 6. It's probably Mega Beedrill. Probably for the same reason why it's a lot of things. I don't hate any of the Mega designs except for Heracross. But Mega Beedrill, I think the problem with Mega Beedrill was it has so many stingers. It didn't really get that great of an ability either. It did make Beedrill overall a much better Pokemon, but that's it. I like it, but it's just looking at this list, it is by far and beyond probably the worst of the bunch. Generation 7. This has got to be our Chinstrap himself, probably. If it's not, then it's Salazzle. Nah, it's going to be Mr. Chinstrap. Cool color scheme change. It's still a Grimer. It's still only the Chinstrap. The Muck is super, super cool. I love the coloration of the Muck, but Grimer is just, don't care for it. Generation 8. We got some options. We do have Toxtricity. We have Sneasler. We have Eternatus. And it's obviously Eternatus. Eternatus is one of the most broken legendary Pokemon they've ever added to the game. It's also one of the weirdest designs and worst designs I've ever seen. What is this thing supposed to be? What is its purpose? Why is it? It's like 60 feet tall or something. It's the definition of an abomination. Now, Generation 9. We got some options here, and I think the answer is actually not that difficult. Because Clodsire, as I've talked about before, is just an actual potato. It's a potato with feet. And you know what's sad? Wooper is like so happy, even though he doesn't have any arms, but he has legs, right? And then the blue Wooper evolves into Quagsire, right? And Quagsire has arms, and he's a happy guy, and he also has arms. Clodsire is a happy guy, but he never grew arms. But he doesn't look that happy. So I think he's kind of disappointed that he wasn't able to grow arms. And instead, he just got 2 more legs. Also, this thing actually doesn't have legs. It just has feet. This is an absolute abomination. It has feet. How does it move? It doesn't have legs to stand itself up. It's just little feet. What do you do? How do you move? I have no idea how this is supposed to work. Regardless, it's the worst. But the ugliest poison type, in all honesty, if I had to pick one, is definitely Gloom. I mean, Gloom is quite honestly one of the worst designed Pokemon. Nobody likes it. Everybody rushes that Leaf Stone to get it into a Vileplume because Vileplume is a much better Pokemon. And I've never heard of anybody sitting on Gloom on purpose when Vileplume's right there. So, yeah, that's it. That's the list. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe. 500's the goal. Hopefully we're getting closer to it. And please like the video. I will see you tomorrow for Ground Type. Take care. Hello. Welcome back. There are a lot of ground types that I actually think are pretty cool. And I don't know what it is that I'm going to be talking about until I look at what's available to me. But this is definitely going to be an interesting list because most of my favorite Pokemon are all ground type. So let's see how this one goes. Welcome back to Wigs Gaming. We have obviously been talking about the ugliest Pokemon of every single generation for quite some time now. And today's no different. So let's just jump right into it. If you're excited, make sure you hit the like button at the bottom of the video. And please subscribe if you're new. We've got a subscriber goal that we do not want to miss out on. Now, look. What is our first option? Well, this is where things get a little tricky. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, a lot of my favorite Pokemon are ground type. And looking at this list in front of me, I'm actually not disappointed in any of them. I think they're all genuinely pretty cool Pokemon. Except for one. But that one is actually Nidoqueen. I think Nidoking is really cool. I just think they missed the mark here, and Nidoqueen just doesn't really look as cool as Nidoking does. Like, Nidoking is a really cool looking Pokemon. Everybody wanted a Nidoking. Nobody wanted a Nidoqueen. And based off of the other options I had available, I had to go with it. Generation 2 is one that I think we can all probably agree on. And that is Phanpy. This thing is just a little elephant. And it evolves into bigger elephant. And that's it. It's not a very powerful Pokemon. And it's just not a very... It's not a Pokemon you look at and you think, that's so cool, I need to use that. Like, you can make an argument for a lot of the stuff on this list. Wooper's happy even though he has no arms. Quagsire's pretty cool. Gligar was a bad Pokemon, but it was well designed. Steelix, obviously. Swinub and Piloswine, because they're ice-type people will go to. But you encounter Phanpy early in the game, and you don't think to yourself, oh my goodness, I have to use that. You don't, because there's nothing appealing about this thing at all. Especially in Gen 2. Now, Generation 3... I honestly have to go with Claydol. Claydol is basically a penguin. It's psychic and ground, but just kind of like what I talked about with Phanpy, I don't look at Baltoy and Claydol and think, oh, I need to use those. I do. And I genuinely like a lot of the ground types. Like, this thing even becomes Ninjask available. Marshtomp is awesome. We got Flygon, we got Barboach and Whiscash, and Numel and Camerupt, and obviously Groudon. Like, there's a lot of really good options here. There is. And at the end of the day, this thing is a ground penguin. I think they were going for, like, a penguin look. It's got some sort of orifice around its head with, like, a bunch of eyes. And it's honestly just nightmare fuel. That's really what it is. It's just straight nightmare fuel. Generation 4. Generation 4. One of my least favorite designs in the entire game. Gastrodon is just Shellos, but bigger. I think Gastrodon is a good Pokemon. I like that it has 2 different forms. But where were they going with this? It's a ground slug. That's exactly what Shellos was, right? And then you just evolve into bigger ground slug. Little bit disappointing. Its typing is really the only reason why people actually want this thing. Otherwise, people don't get it because they think it looks cool. No one does. I would be thoroughly shocked if anyone actually said, "Oh my goodness, it's a Gastrodon. Oh, it looks so cool. I have to catch that." They didn't. They didn't. Oh boy, this is a stinker. This is a stinker right here, dude. I've got a choice between Seismitoad and Stunfisk, dude. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? It's Stunfisk, but it has to be Seismitoad, dude. Like, Seismitoad, and I guess I already talked about Seismitoad when I talked about water types, so how about we just let Stunfisk be, okay? Let's let Stunfisk be. No, we're not going to let him be. This thing should not exist, and I'm never going to stop talking about how horrendous this thing is. The fact that they thought it would be a good idea to put a fish Pokemon that was electric and ground in the game, make it look like it just got stomped on, and then say, okay, people are going to like this, people are going to use this, people are going to think this is so cool, they can't wait to catch this. No! That's not going to happen. It's just not. It's not going to happen. It will not happen. It'll never happen. Just live with it. Moving on. Generation 6. I was honestly extremely disappointed by a couple of these mega designs. First and foremost, actually none of them are on this list. So I will actually move on from some of these mega designs because they all look really good. Not to mention Primal Groudon is awesome. And I kind of already talked about Diggersby in my normal type video. This is my official choice, but I want to talk about Zygarde because when every single main series Pokemon game, except for recently, has a third legendary. Actually, no, I think every single one of them has had it. Maybe the Scarlet Violet was the exception. But that third legendary is supposed to be stronger than the main 2 box art legendaries, right? And the whole purpose of why it exists is because a lot of the lore comes through it and so on, and you're supposed to be able to catch it in the post game as you are with every other game, right? Zygarde, you were able to do that, not a problem, right? But he was just hidden in a cave somewhere. There was no, like, overarching story about him. And what everybody theorized at the time is they were like, well, you know, they made Pokemon X and Y, and Zygarde's name starts with a Z, so they're going to make Pokemon Z. Well, even though X and Y actually were a good resurgence for the Pokemon series after Black 2 and White 2 wasn't all that popular, they still decided, no, we're going to scrap Pokemon Z and we're going to jump right into Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon did well, it was a good game, and they ended up adding full form Zygarde then. But again, there was no story to it. There was nothing more than that. So I just wanted to talk about and rant about that a little bit, where there was a lot of missed potential, and how if they made a Pokemon Z version, people would absolutely love it, and I would still be replaying it to this day. And Zygarde's full form does look really cool, but its half form, where it's just like a snake, not so much. But look at its full form. Its full form looks really, really cool, man. It looks so cool. But Generation 7, by far and beyond the worst of the worst, is Alolan Dugtrio. When this thing first came out, so for anyone who doesn't know, I've used the username Wigs for like, I want to say almost 10 years at this point. It's been that long. I've used it that long. And when this thing came out, I said, okay, this is just Dugtrio with a bunch of wigs. And I'm like, this is for me. I'll have to love this thing. Well, in Generation 9, they introduced this Pokemon called Wiglet. And while Wiglet is not a very good Pokemon, I actually like Wiglet more because it actually has Wig in it. So I'll live with that. And Alolan Dugtrio really is just Dugtrio with hair. Based off the options I had here, where I had Zygarde, I had Sandcastle Ghost, and I had Mudspray and Mudsdale. This is really the worst one. It is. And it is just going to be what it's going to be. And they made it a steel type for some reason. They added hair, but they made it a steel type. They made it work, though. They said the hair fibers were made out of steel or something, but still. Just saying. Generation 8. I am extremely disappointed in one of these Pokemon. And that Pokemon is Ursaluna. You gave Ursaring an evolution. And this is what you came up with. A big bear who's already pretty strong. And this is what you thought of. This is what you said. You looked at and you said, this looks so awesome, man. I am so down for this Ursaring evolution. I can't wait for people to use this. And guess what happened? Everybody forgot that it existed already. Generation 9. I've already talked about Clodsire enough. I think I'm going to leave Clodsire alone. Honestly, I have to say, out of all of these, it's still Sandy Shocks. I talked about Sandy Shocks in my electric type video. I just don't know what they were thinking. No one asked for a Paradox Pokemon, and at the end of the day, it was a decently cool feature, but I can't see it being something they continue with after in other generations. If anything, if they do make Paradox Pokemon a thing again, they will probably give them actual names, because the code names they use for them, no one remembers. This is Great Tusk, and then this is Iron something, and I already forgot. You know what I mean? Especially all the Iron ones. Over time, I'll remember them, but it's difficult with some of them. But I wish they could have given them actual names, and also maybe instead of making Paradox Pokemon, they could have just given alternate forms or alternate evolutionary lines. So maybe Magnemite and Magneton can evolve into Sandy Shocks if you do a certain thing, and then evolves into Magnezone if you do a different certain thing. They could have done the same thing with Phanpy into Donphan for both of these. I think that would have been perceived a little bit better and would have been a little bit more of a fun way to do it, where you kind of figure it out on your own without even noticing. And you can still have Area Zero full of this stuff, but it would have been cool if there was some evolutionary line or something where you can get more and you can breed these to get more of them and so on and so forth. But instead they went with this. Out of all of the Paradox Pokemon designs, I think Roaring Moon is definitely the best. Can we find him over here? I gotta find Roaring Moon over here. Look at Roaring Moon. He looks so cool. He does. But they missed the mark on a couple. Sandy Shocks is one of them. So what's the worst? Well, we have some options here. And yeah, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe if you're new. I would love to see that subscriber number continue to go up. 500 is still the goal. Let's see if we can get there. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. I've gone on far too long, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Welcome back. We're going to continue to talk about the ugliest Pokemon, because what else would we do? What else do you come to this channel for at this point? I would love to know. Let me know what else you come for this channel for. But regardless, let's talk about the worst flying types today. Make sure you hit a like button at the bottom of the video. They're good for the YouTube algorithm, and it continues to get this video promoted. And also just lets me know that you enjoyed the video. And if you genuinely didn't enjoy the video, let me know. I need to know. No, I'm just kidding. Do whatever you want. If you don't like the video, that's fine. I'd love some feedback. Let's talk about the flying types. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about the flying types. Here we go. Flying types. We're talking about the worst designed flying types that have ever existed. And honestly, I think we have to kick this list off with none other than Dodrio. Dodrio is a fun Pokemon to use. I like its moveset, and it is what it is. It's also a three-headed abomination that is considered a flying type, even though it doesn't have wings, just because it looks like a bird. And that's really all I have to say about Dodrio. I mean, at the end of the day, this thing is I don't have anything else to say about it. It's very poorly designed. Generation 1, they went practical. They based all of their Pokemon off of actual animals. But what is this? Is it supposed to be a flamingo or an ostrich? Maybe? But it has multiple heads. Didn't work for me. It's just, it gives me nightmare fuel. Generation 2. So Generation 2, I would love to talk about Lediba and Ledian, because I have trashed on the two of them so many times over. But the good news is that they're actually not poorly designed from a looks perspective. They're poorly designed from a moveset perspective, but that's a whole other thing. However, the worst designed Generation 2 Pokemon, the ugliest Generation 2 Pokemon, is obviously... It's not obvious because now I'm second guessing myself. What would I pick here? What should it be? I think it's probably Xatu. Just because I don't know what it is. So, like, it's a bird, right, of some sort. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's green body with the one eye, like, pointed right at you is just a little creepy. It's got, like, this... Excuse me. It's got, like, this headband thing back here. I don't know what that's supposed to be. And I don't think I've ever seen Xatu and thought, oh, I need to use that. Oh, I need to use that. And that's really what I'm basing my pick off of. Generation 3, though, has a problem child. A big-time problem child. Tropius, I like using Tropius. I do. But this thing, they were going with, like, dinosaur or something. I don't know. It's got bananas hanging from its neck because it's a tree. It's kind of bulky, but not really because of all of its weaknesses. Tropius is just not a very good Pokemon, and it's not a very cool Pokemon whatsoever, and it's definitely just something that no one enjoys looking at. Generation 4. Let me scroll over. My apologies. Generation 4. We have a lot of options, and then we have a balloon. Generation 5. We have also a lot of options. Look at all these options over here. And this might be the first time I ever do not pick a Pikachu clone. And you know why? Because there's this thing called Sigilyph. Sigilyph. What are you? I don't understand. The only thing that's more of an abomination than this thing is Dracovish. What are you? What am I looking at? Are its eyes right here, or is it has one eye and it's up here? These are wings, these are feet, these are claws. Why are you a flying type? Why are you anything? Why do you even exist? I have no answer for this thing. I don't know. I have no clue why Sigilyph is a Pokemon. Nothing evolved into it. It didn't evolve into anything. What are you doing? What do you do? Oh my goodness, all the Vivillons. Okay, it's just all the Vivillons. We can cut that part out. We can cut that part of it off. There, you don't need to see all the Vivillons. What is the worst Generation 6 flying type in regards to how ugly it is? Well, I'll tell you what the answer is. Is Mega Pinsir. Listen, man, if you wanted to give Pinsir a Mega Evolution, that's fine. But can I ask you something? Who asked for it to be a flying type? Who thought to themselves, Mega Pinsir should be a flying type? A Pokemon that is pure bug, but everybody agreed should have been fighting from day one. And they made it a flying type. And then this is what they went with to portray it being a flying type. I'm so disappointed. Fighting was right around the corner. They could have done a fighting-looking Pinsir, and they chose this. They attached an engine and wings on its back and moved on. But those aren't real wings. Those are like manufactured wings. It's not like he's a bug and he grew wings. Why did you do that? What was your plan? Generation 7. As much as I love whatever. What does it evolve into? What does it evolve into? It goes from Rowlet to Dartrix to... What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? It's coming. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm totally not getting on my phone and typing it in. I'm totally not doing that, guys. I would never do that. I would never get on my phone and type it in and go to Pokemon.com and find out what it evolves into. Decidueye. And I didn't even get there. I literally had Googled the word Dartrix and was looking for Pokemon database. I didn't even get there. Decidueye is a really awesome Pokemon. I think it's one of the coolest designs in the world. And then you have Dartrix. Dartrix has one eyebrow bigger than another. I think that's actually supposed to be his hair, and he's supposed to be like some punk rock guy. I don't know. It's just an owl with one eyebrow that's too long. That's all it is. Moving on. Generation 8. Generation 8. Yeah. This is an easy one. This is an easy one. Actually, yeah, that's better. Generation 9. We have a bunch of Squawkabillies. Kilowattrel, Wattrel, Bombardier. Your name escapes me every single time. Every single time. Flamigo. And I think you are Iron Jugulus? I think this is Jugulus. The answer is Squawkabilly. You took a bird and you gave it a hat. What's my least favorite color out of all these? The yellow one. The yellow one, definitely. So what's the worst then? That's what you guys came here for, right? Well, you can make flying types, and you can make abominations. You can even make balloons or birds with hats. But what you can't make is something that I don't even know what to call it. I don't know if I'm supposed to call you an abomination. I don't know if I'm supposed to call you a psychic type bird. I don't know what you are. And that's why it's the ugliest flying type that has ever existed. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. Psychic types is coming tomorrow. Or in my case, in 5 seconds when I stop the recording and then start another one and then record psychic types. See you then. It is 11:40 on a Monday night and I'm recording this. So I want everybody to know how dedicated I am. So make sure you subscribe for the most dedicated person on YouTube. All right, now moving on. What are the ugliest psychic types they've ever created? That's what we're talking about today. So if you're excited, make sure you hit the like button. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the worst, not the worst. We already talked about the worst. The ugliest psychic types that have ever existed, and we've already got one that we don't need to talk about. Generation 2. What is the ugliest Generation 2 psychic type? Well, I'm not going to pick Smoochum because that's the cop-out answer. I'm actually going to pick Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet is that one Pokemon that you think is cool when you first see it because everybody always messes you up when they use it and play against you with it. And then you use it and you realize how annoying and gimmicky it is to use Wobbuffet to the point where you just put it back in your box and you act like it doesn't exist anymore. Wobbuffet, unfortunately, is just poorly designed. I get the concept. I get what they were going for. They should have scrapped it or maybe gave it an evolution to make it a little bit better. Instead, you just have this. And it just really gives me nightmare fuel when I look at it too. Generation 3. I talked about Claydol. I'm going to leave Claydol alone. And anyway, regardless, there is a new challenger that is approaching, and that is Spoink. They took a pig, they put a gem on his head, and instead of giving him feet, they gave him a spring. They took the head of a pig, put a spring up its butt, and put a jewel on its head, and said, "You're a psychic type." And then it evolves into Grumpig, and then all of a sudden it grows limbs, and it just looks like a regular old pig. But if you see right there, the spring is still shoved up its butt. It just grew legs, so it was able to let the spring not control it anymore. Good. Generation 4. Chingling is literally just a bell. That's it. When they decided that Chimecho was a really bad Pokemon, they thought it would be a good idea to give it a pre-evolution instead of an evolution. And that pre-evolution was just a bell. Generation 5. By the way, did anybody ask for Chingling to be put in the game? No one asked for that. Who asked for that? No one did. Generation 5. I have to. If you don't know why I put this here, watch yesterday's video. But to give you the short form of why Sigilyph is here again, I just don't know what I'm looking at when I look at Sigilyph. Are you a bird? Are you a wizard? Are you something in between? Are you an abomination? I don't know what it is. I just don't. Generation 6. Alright, I'm going to talk about the same Pokemon I talked about when I made my worst video. And in all fairness, first things first, I hate cat Pokemon. Every cat Pokemon, every single cat Pokemon they've ever made. Hate them. Hate every single one of them. Hate every single cat Pokemon they've ever created. Hate them. Hate them. Hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them. They look awful, every single one of them. Alright? Just lost 30,000 subscribers from that. Alright? Now, I think if they took Esper out of the game, no one would remember. They could pull Esper out of the game, and no one would even notice. Generation 7. Oh, goodness. Generation 8. I think that Mr. Rhyme gets too many negative comments. The dude is Charlie Chaplin. It looks so cool. It does. It does. And then you have Indeedee. This thing reminds me a lot of Slurpuff and Aromatisse. Two Pokemon that are in the game that no one remembers, just like Esper. Indeedee is another Pokemon that no one remembers. If you pulled this from the game and never talked about it again, no one would remember. Generation 9. I really, really do not want to do this. Because I loved Rellors. I loved Rellor as a Pokemon. It was a bug that was rolling a rock. I thought it was creative. I thought it was different. Rellor evolved into this. What did they do to him? He did not deserve it. He did not deserve this. I was so excited to find out what Rellor was going to evolve into. And then he became this. Let's just zoom in real quick on his eyes. Look at those eyes. Look at his eyes. He's like old man Rellor holding up this psychic ball with his back legs, which is super impressive, by the way. And why? Even if they wanted to make it a psychic type, I feel like they could have thought of something better. I really do think they could have thought of something better. Well, I'll be disappointed for the rest of my being, and for the rest of my time. And maybe one day I can be proven wrong. But for now, this thing has no business being where it is. So what's the worst? What is the ugliest? Well, thank you so much for watching the video. If you make yourself laugh, that means you're not funny. At the end of the day, I think that unfortunately, we just have to live with the fact that some Pokemon don't look very good. But I will tell you, this Psychic type list, every single one of them was really bad. Really, really bad. And I'm totally not just spattering on to make the video a little bit longer. I would never do something like that. Like, I would never go over here and say, you know what, let's go ahead just to make sure you guys remember, it's Jinx, it's Wobbuffet, it's Spoink, Chingling, Sigilyph, Esper, Bruxish, Indeedee, Rellor's Evolution, forgot your name, and Bruxish is the worst. I would never, ever do something like that. I would never, ever, ever, never, ever, never, ever, ever, never, ever, never say that about any of these Pokemon just to get the video to be a little bit longer. No, I totally would never do that. Never. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. We are back. And there are some bug types that we need to say some terrible things about today. Thank you so much for your support throughout the series and the last one. We are going to finish this out, and we will be able to do it hopefully without any more gaps. If you are enjoying the series, make sure you subscribe for more, and please like the video if you enjoyed it. Now, what are the ugliest bug types ever created? Well, the good news is with bug types is that there's a lot of really bad choices to pick from. Quite honestly, some of these designs are creative, and then some of them are this. At the end of the day, Venonat, excuse me, it's fighting. I'm literally fighting allergy season. Let's see how many times that happens. Venonat is quite literally the epitome of Tangela, but it's a bug type. And then it evolves into a moth. I don't understand where they were getting this from. Moth larvae do not look like this. I really don't understand what their thought process was. I don't know what kind of bug this is supposed to be. That's my problem. Like, you're a cocoon, you're a caterpillar, you're a butterfly. You're a caterpillar, you're a cocoon, you're a bee. You are a crab bug. I don't know what you are either, but you look cool. I don't know what you are either, but you look cool, and you're a moth. What is this? Any explanation? Anybody know? Because I don't. Generation 2. Generation 2, guys. There is, some creativity. You have your Spinarak and Ariados. You have Yanma. You have Heracross. You have Scizor. Ladybug and Ledian are fine, I suppose, compared to what else is available. And then you have a literal Pinecone. Why is this a bug type, by the way? Are Pinecones supposed to be bug type? Oh, that's right. Pinecones aren't bugs because they're not living things. They fall from trees for a reason. Pineco, why are you a bug type? And why is an actual Pinecone a Pokemon? Come on, man. We're better than that. Generation 3. It is 100% our favorite air mattress. I really like the Generation 3 bug types. I think they all look really, really good. Volbeat looks like a Pokemon. You can't unsee it. It looks like an air mattress. Like, look at it. Like, do you not see an air mattress? Its body is basically an air mattress. So, we just gotta, live with it. At the end of the day, Illumise will never be a good Pokemon. It doesn't matter what they do. It's just too weak. And I don't even think they've put it in any of the modern games because they know nobody wants it. So, why even bother to animate another sprite when they don't have to? Generation 4. Generation 4 has some great Pokemon. And then they have Kricketune. But I actually am going to say something about Kricketune. Creating a bug type with a mustache, a lot of people might say is horrifying based off the way Kricketune looks. The thing you have to understand, though, is that Kricketune wears that mustache with confidence, whereas Kricketot just hides in his little shell. And honestly, I think Kricketune is cool specifically for the mustache, but Kricketot is just terrible. The rest of these at least make some sense. This does not. Generation 5. There are some ugly Generation 5 bug types. There really are. There really, 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 really are. In my personal opinion, if it were up to me, I would go with Escavalier. I don't know why you thought, oh, let me take this guy and put him into armor, and he's a new Pokemon all of a sudden. All they did was add armor. And as cool as a Pokemon that's similar to this would look, this just didn't work out at all. Generation 6. They didn't add a whole lot, but they did add a lot of Megas. And they added, in my personal opinion, and I talked about it in the fighting video, but I'll talk about it again today, the worst designed Mega in the game. I love Mega Heracross. I love Heracross. I think Mega Heracross is cool. I think he is super strong. And I think it's good that Heracross got a Mega. I think it let a lot of people like the Pokemon a lot more. The problem is, giving Heracross a Mega Evolution is not the problem. The problem is, this is what the design team came up with. Oh, we're going to introduce Mega Evolution. It's going to be one of the biggest generational gimmicks we've ever created. We're going to expand on it. People are going to love it. It's going to be super overpowered, and we're going to make all the designs look really, 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 really cool, said Game Freak. And then they made Mega Heracross. And the worst part is, the designers made Mega Heracross, showed it to Game Freak, who compared it to the other Megas that they created, and said, okay, yeah, this one's fine. What? How would this be fine to you? How do you look at this and tell yourself, you know what, at the end of the day, this one looks cool? It doesn't. I'm really disappointed. I still used one, as did everybody else, but I'm so disappointed in how terrible this thing looks. Terrible. Generation 8. Generation 8, it has to be my boy, Buzzwole. I don't understand the concept of taking a Pokemon and making it a swole dude. Basically, a stereotypical Chad. I don't know about you, but I just don't care for Buzzwole at all. I think it had a lot of potential and it didn't get used very often. And it was kind of funny when it first came out for it to be called Buzzwole and it looked this way. Doesn't change the fact that this thing is literal nightmare fuel. Generation 8. It has to be Snom, and I'll tell you why. First off, I don't know why Snom is a bug type. But second off, I don't know what I'm looking at. Okay? I'm just being honest with you guys. Let me zoom in. Okay? So take a look at this, right? What am I looking at? So you guys can see my mouse. Is this and this his legs? Is this his butt? Or is this an eye right here, and this is like his hands that he uses, and this like his mouth is in the middle? I don't know what it is that I'm looking at. And then what is this back here? Is it some sort of cocoon? I don't understand what Snom is supposed to be. And there are some pretty cool design Generation 8 Pokemon, but I'm like, what is this thing? I have no clue. Generation 9, I love the guy, but it doesn't change the fact that it was very lazy design in its Rellor. You took a bug and you said, let me roll something. That was it. That was the idea. That was the idea. What is the ugliest, though? What do we look at and are just so disappointed in? It's Mega Heracross. I would love if Mega Heracross looked different, but it doesn't. And because, unfortunately, since Mega Evolution came out, Pokemon won't stick to a generational gimmick. Excuse me. They will change it every single time. So this will never get fixed. But on the bright side, I guess in competitive battles, we'll never see this thing again, and we'll only really see it again if we play through X and Y or Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So there is that, at least. That's the list. Excuse me again. Let me know what you think. That was way too far out. Here you go. Let me know what you think. Here's the list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for some bug types. I'll see you tomorrow for some rock types. Have a good one. You know, rock types are the type of Pokemon that always generally look pretty cool, and I think I'm going to have some hard choices to make. Welcome back. We're talking about the ugliest Pokemon. Today it's rock types. Pretty straightforward. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen one of these before, but if you haven't, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm getting these out every single day. We are talking about the ugliest rock type Pokemon. Also, don't forget to like the video. I have to say it every time or people won't do it. That's just what the algorithm tells me, okay? I have to do it. Now, let's go ahead. Let's talk about some rock types, okay? Let's talk about some Generation 1 rock types. And at the end of the day, looking at my options here, I think the obvious answer is Onix. Except it isn't. Because I said time and time again that Onix was a terrible Pokemon, but it was a cool design. So you know what it actually is? Yeah. The thing is, and when it comes down to Gen 1 fossil Pokemon, did anybody actually use any fossil Pokemon? Not counting Aerodactyl, of course. No one used Kabuto and Kabutops or Ammonite and Amistar. Nobody used them. No one ever did. And at the end of the day, Kabuto is so weak and looks so stupid that you just don't want to go through the grind of evolving this thing because it just takes so long. It's just not worth your time. Generation 2. You know, you can take a slug and make it red and call it a fire type. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. But what you can't do is you can't take a slug, turn it red, call it a fire type, and then slap a rock on its back and say it's fire rock type. No. I refuse. Generation 3. I think this is the first one where people are going to get really mad at me because it's obviously Reggie. No, it's not. Guys, come on. Did you really think I was going to do that? Nose Pass should not be in the game. And you know what? While I'm at it, because I know it's going to be here, Probo Pass should not be in the game. Nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for these people to be in the game. I get what they were doing with Nose Pass. They were trying to make it like an Easter Island statue. I get that. I get that. But it was too weak, so nobody ended up liking it at all. And then they're like, okay, it's too weak. Instead of finding a way to make it better, why don't we just, put Probo Pass in the game? People would love Probo Pass. No, actually, Probo Pass gives us more nightmares. I don't understand what their thought process was, but this is what they chose to do. Generation 9. Roggenrola is a fun Pokemon to use when you get it up to Gigalith. But before you do that, it's literally just Geodude without arms. Not original at all. Generation 6. This is where some decisions get tough, except for the fact that you have Barbaracle, which is literally just arms. There's no body, it's all arms. His head is an arm. The rest of him is arms. His torso, even though you can't see it, is probably arms. Why this thing isn't rock fighting disappoints me. I think they made this thing rock water. But, what are they trying to base this thing off of? I guess with rock types you can't really, but if it's going to be part water, you have the ability to. So, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not. Okay. Yeah. Guys, I don't want to do it because I love its name. But Stack-a-Tacka is pulled straight out of Minecraft. This is when you first discover the game Minecraft, you're 6 or 7 years old, right? And you're like, oh, look, Mom, look at the house I built in Minecraft. Look at the house I built, Mom. Go look. This is what you created, and you're so proud of it, and you think it's so awesome. And because your mom loves you, she's like, that looks so good. Good job. But you really know that it looks absolutely terrible when you look at it a few years later. Yeah. That's Stack-a-Tacka. That right there. What is the worst of Generation 8? Well, I like all of them, but then they decided to create Stonehenge the Pokemon. And I don't know about you, but I have a pretty good feeling that anybody watching this video has never been to Stonehenge. Now, if you have, let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you thought of it. However, I have a pretty good feeling that none of you have thought in your life, I would love to go see Stonehenge one day. Do you know why? Because it's a bunch of rocks! It's just a bunch of rocks! Why would you go there? There's no point! There's nothing there but to look at rocks! So I have a pretty good feeling that none of you have been there. Generation 9. Cloth shouldn't have been added into the game. Nobody asked for him. But he should not exist, period. Thank you for watching. And I will see you tomorrow for Ghost Type. So subscribe. Don't miss out. I think every single time I do one of these lists, as time goes on, it gets more and more difficult to make decisions. But they really come to me really quickly sometimes. Ghost, however, I think is going to be a little trickier, but we'll see how it goes. Obviously, we have a choice between just these three, and in my personal opinion, the worst of the three is actually Haunter. Haunter is essentially just a floating hands dude. You have a ghost, right? A standard ghost, and that's a circle, and then you just give him floating hands. And that's a little uneasy. It makes people a little uneasy. And then Gengar was like a full body, so he looked a lot better. Oh, wow. Guys, I'll be honest with you. Generation 2 is such a difficult choice. Like, I have no idea who it's going to be. I really don't know what it is that I'm supposed to do because I really can't make this decision right now, man. I'm not prepared. I really am not. Okay. Generation 3. Unfortunately, if you have a fear of dolls, it's definitely Baynet. Baynet has like the standard like creepy doll aspect to her that definitely doesn't make you feel safe. It makes you feel extremely scared. But completely honestly, I actually think the ugliest one is Sableye. I don't know what Sableye is supposed to be. I think that's kind of the issue here. I have no clue what Sableye is supposed to be. And the fact that it's a pretty decent Pokemon is nice, but it's still like, what are you? What is your purpose? Why are you in the game? And who inspired that design? Usually something would inspire it, but not this time. Not this time. Generation 4, we have a balloon, a blimp, a witch, a circle, a fat guy, a dragon, a Bluetooth device that possesses other devices. What would you call this thing? Basically electricity, and then another ghost of some sort. I want to speak on something just because I've thought of it. No one asked for Frostlass to be in the game. Like, nobody asked for this Pokemon to be in the game. I don't know why they thought, oh, Glalie isn't strong enough. Let's make an alternate evolution. Nobody asked for Frostlass. Everybody likes Glalie. It makes no sense. Not to mention, Glalie got a Mega and Frostlass didn't. Now, the good news is Frostlass actually looks pretty good, so it's fine. But Spiritomb is just a spirit coming out of some sort of rock. I don't understand. I don't know why you're in the game. Okay? Generation 9. You know, a lot of you guys were begging me to pick. This is Jellicent. Jellicent's pre-evolution. I don't remember the name. Frillish. Frillish is the name. You guys were begging me to pick Frillish. I overlooked it in water because I felt like there were worse choices. But I cannot overlook it anymore. Frillish, I specifically, I like the male one. I think looks the worst. I don't understand what Frillish is. Like, Jellicent is supposed to look like a jellyfish. This doesn't look like a jellyfish. So what are you? And, like, it's got some sort of, like, skirt around its neck. And then it's got its arms and its legs. I guess they're supposed to be tentacles. I don't know. But this thing, I feel like when I look at this thing, look, we're going to zoom this in as much as we can. Hold on. We're going to zoom this in as much as we can. That's as far as it'll go, 500%. Tell me right now that this thing is not staring into your soul. Tell me right now that it's not staring directly into your soul. I'll wait. I'll be quiet. Okay, joke's funny enough. Now, that I will say about this thing is that it's not a bad Pokemon per se, but it just is a little bit nightmare fuelish. I just don't know if it should exist, in my personal opinion. Generation 6 has my favorite ghost type ever, Aegislash. Aegislash is awesome! Okay? Now. Then you have a pumpkin. Oh, that's a cool idea. Let's make a pumpkin Pokemon. No one ever. Oh, just so we can make another. You know what? I have to. Somebody told me this guy's name. I forgot what his name was. What was his name? I already forgot it. It's the clown guy. Now look, I want to tell you guys a story, okay? So, in my grandparents' house, they always, because they were great grandparents, they were excellent grandparents, they always had candy bars in the basement, right? And so when you go in the basement, you're always going down to the basement to get a candy bar, because when you're at their house, you can have as many as you want, because good grandparents spoil their grandchildren. It's the best ever, right? So when I was a kid, I used to go over there. I'd go downstairs to the basement to go get a candy bar. And in the basement, there is also a picture of a clown. It is a painting of a clown that my grandfather bought at a yard sale. Well, that clown painting might just be the scariest thing that a kid could ever look at. And unfortunately for me, I now cannot and will not ever be okay looking at a clown ever again. Not to mention, let me tell you another story. And keep in mind, this is something that went on for so many years, where anytime you needed a candy bar, the clown picture would stare at your soul, okay? It would stare at your soul. It was so scary. Now, let me tell you another story. Another story. I went to, and I will never do it again, when I was in like 6th or 7th grade, so this was, at this point, how old? I would have been 13, so this was 11 years ago. 11 years ago, I went to like one of those Halloween haunted house things. It was a church that was running it, and I'm not gonna tell you what it is because then you guys will find out where I live. But there was a church that was running it, and basically they have you line up in a whole group, and you basically just follow the group and you walk through different buildings, and in those different buildings there's all kinds of scary stuff that jumps out at you and scares you. Well, there was a clown room. And I didn't know I was afraid of clowns, I think, until I got into this clown room. And there was, like, steam everywhere, and there was a clown hiding behind steam, right? And right behind the steam is a clown, and of course, the clown jumps out, sees me, and touches me on, like, my side with his hands just to, like, get extra fear into me. And I remember I had never screamed louder in my entire life. There were people everywhere hearing me scream like a little girl. It was so bad. I refuse to ever say anything good about a clown ever again. There's too much PTSD. Way too much. Oh boy. You know, I said it earlier and I'm going to stick to it. I don't want to use G-Max forms, but G-Max Gengar is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. But if we're not using G-Max forms, it's obviously Sinistea. You thought it would be a good idea to just take a teacup, fill it with a tea, and make it a ghost. Yeah, I don't have anything I can say about that. I really don't. Generation 9. I really, completely, honestly love all of these Pokemon. I do. Except for Fluttermane. Fluttermane is literally Misdreavus with a long mane, I guess is what they were going with. My problem with it is it's just not different enough to look cool. To give you an example, everyone loves Roaring Moon. A lot of people love Great Tusk. A lot of people love what's the other one? Screamtail and Brute Bonnet. People love those. Fluttermane is just Misdreavus with a little bit more hair. Not creative. They didn't think well enough on that. So what's the worst? Well, I only sat there and told you a story for 5 minutes, so I don't know if I need to explain that one. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. I am excited to, get back into the swing of things. I will have Dragon types out tomorrow. I'll see you then. Welcome back to Wigs Gaming. Today we are going to talk about the absolute ugliest dragon types in all of Pokemon. So if you're excited and if you've been enjoying the series, make sure you hit the like button on the video because I'm told that I have to say that every single time. And please subscribe if you are new. I look forward to seeing that sub number continue to grow now that we're back in full swing. Now, dragon types. Dragon types are one of, if not the strongest types in the game. But there are some bad-looking ones. The Pokemon Company and Nintendo, I say the Pokemon Company even though I don't think they're in charge anymore. I'm pretty sure it's been Game Freak most of the time, and Nintendo just helps out with publishing the game. Game Freak has been pretty good with their Dragon-type designs. They spend more time on them because, again, they're super strong and they want people to use them. But there have been some stinkers in the past, and I think you guys know exactly which ones I'm going to end up selecting at the end of the day. Now, in this case, we just have a Dragon Snake. We don't have any other choice. We're going to put the Dragon Snake in there. But man, is Generation 2 a tough choice, man. Wow. I have no clue what to select for Generation 2 because I'm having a really hard time deciding what the ugliest one is. I really have no clue at all what it is that I'm supposed to put for Generation 2. So I think I'm just going to have to go with this one. I know it's the only option available, so it's just what I'm going to have to go with. But that was a really tough choice. Generation 3. This is where I'm going to make some people mad. Because the worst design in all of Generation 3 is Rayquaza. No. Guys, really? Did you really think I was going there? Did you really think I was going there? This is kind of your stereotypical level 2 cocoon Pokemon. Is what Shelgon essentially is. Dragons don't go into cocoons, which is what I find interesting. It's a Pokemon, so like whatever, no big deal. Like, you know, they can create their own ways, things evolve, but it's like there's a lot of second stage Pokemon that are cocoons. There are so many, and this is just another one. It was Generation 3, so they hadn't overdone it yet, so it worked, but it won't work for too long. Generation 4, well, I will tell you right now, it is not Gibble, Gabite, or Garchomp. I actually don't like Palkia's design. Dialga is awesome. This guy looks so cool. What are you? What are you? Why do you exist? Why do you exist? I mean, its neck is 40 million feet long. It's got these fins out the back of it. Okay? It's got this little gem in its head, and it looks like it has a massive underbite like a bulldog, and he's like, that's how he talks. I mean, come on, man. Not doing it. Not feeling it. Generation 5. Generation 5, well, you know, I think a lot of you guys think I'm going to choose Druddigon today. I'm not. I am not going to choose Druddigon. You know why? Because Kyurem is probably the most disappointing legendary Pokemon that has ever been created. We're given a Black 2 and White 2 sequel, right? Everybody's thinking, oh my goodness, this is so cool. And then they see Kyurem. And they're like, hold on a second. This is not the third legendary we were promised that we got in every other game. This is just Kyurem. And then when you fuse them and you make Kyurem white or you make Kyurem black, well, this thing looks like an abomination. Now, keep in mind, Black 2 and White 2 are phenomenal games. From what I've heard, I have not played them. I've played the original Black and White, and Black 2 and White 2 are like $200. So one of these days I'll buy it, but not at the moment. But I will play it. I will play it if I buy it. But at the end of the day, this is something that has to be kept in mind, is this is truly just a really disappointing legendary, and it's really anticlimactic when you finally get this thing. Generation 6. I think, quite honestly, and I've said it a million times before, that the Megas they made were really well designed. They are. And then you have Mega Ampharos, which just gets a little fur on its tail and some hair. And it's like, you know what? Let's make it a dragon type, guys. Why not? Disappointed. Generation 7. Dude, my boy Guzzlord. So when I first saw the Sun and Moon trailer that introduced Guzzlord, I thought this thing was the coolest Pokemon they have ever created. I was so hyped up about this thing. I was like, Guzzlord? Holy cow, the thing looks so awesome. Because it did. It did look awesome. But then, I still think it looks awesome. I'm probably just not as excited about it as I used to be. And no, it's not ugly, by the way. It looks awesome. It looks awesome. You know what is ugly? You know what is really ugly? A dog. Now, it's obviously a tall tree. I get it. It fits Executor really well because Execute and Executor are just silly Pokemon to begin with. So to make it just taller is kind of a very fun concept because it's just so Like, it's so executor for its Alolan form to just be, oh, it's tall because it's in a tropical area so it can grow higher. Like, I find that hilarious. Generation 8. You can make a Pokemon and you can put it in an apple. Or you can make a Pokemon and create an absolute abomination. Or you can make a Pokemon that makes 0 sense. Eternatus is like 67 feet tall or something. It's one of the most broken Pokemon they've ever put in the game, and it's the stupidest design for a legendary I've ever seen. Zacian and Zamenta are literally Pokemon that hold a sword and a shield. They're lions that hold a sword and a shield. Yet they are better and more creatively designed than whatever Eternatus is. What is Eternatus? What are you? What is your purpose? I do not understand what this thing is. It's just a whole bunch of scales all over the place. Anybody who saw this and thought, this looks so cool, don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. You might have said that just to justify how much you were liking the game, and I get it. It was a fun game. I finished it. But don't lie to yourself. Nobody thinks this thing is cool. Everybody who used this thing only used it because it was broken. And because they let you catch it before the champion, you could put it on your team and you could breeze through the champion pretty easily. But nobody likes this thing. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted at all. Hey, I closed all 3 rings on my Apple Watch. Get on my level. I wasn't even standing, by the way. It just thinks I was. No problem. Moved 664 calories. Exercised 53 minutes. Stood 12 to 12 hours. Done. Easy. All right. Here we go. Here we go. What about Generation 9? Well, I talked about it before, and I'm going to talk about it again. Miraidon is one of the coolest legendary designs in the game. And then you have Koraidon. Miraidon, when he is in his bike form, is an actual bike. He has a wheel that rolls when you ride on it. Koraidon has a bike wheel and a bike wheel down here, but yet he runs on his hands and feet. Why did you think of that? What went through your head when you said, they're both going to look like motorcycles, but only one of them is going to move like one? Why? At the end of the day, the worst of the worst, though, is obviously Eternatus. I have no explanation for what this thing is supposed to be. And I honestly don't know if I'm ever going to find out. So if you have some more info on what this thing is supposed to be, let me know. Happy to help. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow for Dark Types. Do not miss out. Have a good one. My roommates are playing D&D tonight upstairs, and they're very loud. I find it kind of funny, so I decided to record anyway, and if you happen to hear them in the background, let me know, because I think that's hilarious, and I'm wondering what you guys can pick up, if anything. Regardless, welcome back to Wigs Gaming. We've been talking about the ugliest and worst designed Pokemon, and today, guys, we are going to talk about the ugliest Dark-type Pokemon. If you have been enjoying the series, make sure you hit the like button down below. I would love to see some feedback, and please comment. Let me know which ones you agree and disagree with, as well as what you think are the absolute ugliest dark types. Obviously, we've talked about it before in Generation 1, how there are no dark types. However, I will have to say something like this is probably the ugliest one. I think we can all agree with that. Generation 2, though, we got some dark types, and I'll be completely honest with you. There is one that is not like the others. Umbreon is a good Pokemon. Its shiny sprite looks super cool. I think it's pretty well designed. Murkrow is a bird with a hat that's supposed to be a crow. Sneasel, what are you? Why do you exist? Why are you even a dark type to begin with? You should have just been a pure ice type. I think Weavile looks cool as an evolution to Sneasel, but Sneasel is just quite simply said a really disappointing Pokemon that got a much needed evolution, but like, why? What is it supposed to be? What is this based off of? I guarantee nobody can guess what this thing is based off of. I'd be curious if anybody wants to do the research, but Sneasel, just quite simple. When I look at this and oh my gosh, guys, it's a cat. Oh, I just realized it's a cat, isn't it? It is a cat. It totally is a cat. Let's zoom in. Does that look like a cat to you? I think it's supposed to be a cat. And because of that, I still stand by what I said. I hate cats. Moving on. Generation 3, they had some excellent dark type selections. Some of my personal favorites, including Sharpedo, Crawdaunt, and Absol. But you know what they also have? They also have Nuzleaf. When you go and you play Generation 3 when you're a kid, you think to yourself, you're in that first route, and if you played, I believe it's if you played Ruby, you got Lotad, and if you played Sapphire, you got Seedot. And Seedot had only bide for like 8 or 9 levels, and then I think at like 15 or 16, it finally evolves into Nuzleaf. And this is what you get. I don't think anyone... First off, I don't know why it's a dark type. Shiftry is a pretty decent Pokemon. I like Shiftry, but Nuzleaf is just, why do you exist? And when you look at the dark types that are on this list, guys, there are so many great dark type Pokemons on here. Pokemons, wow, who am I, 10 years old? Pokemon on here, that makes a huge difference. Nuzleaf just really disappoints me. It looked like they were kind of going for like a Pinocchio design, like if Pinocchio was a tree, and maybe Nuzleaf is supposed to look like a nutcracker, maybe, I guess is what they were going with. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not a fan of its design much at all. Generation 4. This is a decision that's going to make some people extremely angry. I do not care for Darkrai. I don't think it was ever a well-designed Pokemon. It's just a ghost, but it's a dark type. Okay, is it a dark ghost? No, it's a dark type. Okay, but like, does it get ghost moves? No. Okay, it looks like maybe it could also potentially be like a fire type or something. No. So what's the lore behind it? I don't know the lore behind it. I didn't pay enough attention when I played this game. I don't really care for Darkrai. I don't know if I ever have, and to be completely honest, it looks like just a ghost, and it's got an eyeball, and like there's some hair back here. That's it. Like, I don't really think this is a legendary design that blows me away. I really don't. Generation 5. Yeah, you know, I've talked about Scraggy and Scrafty so many times. I think Scrafty looks a little bit better than Scraggy, but I think I'm done picking on them for now, because if we're strictly talking about what is the ugliest, it's obviously Mandibuzz. Volibee, which evolves into Mandibuzz, is probably one of the worst designed Pokemon, period. But Mandibuzz, well, it is cool that it's both dark and flying. I just don't understand what kind of bird it is, and it just looks horrifying. Like, you have the sharp claws here that aren't even an appendage. It just has them on its body. Its wings are gigantic. It's got a bone going through its hair. And then it's giving you this creepy stare like it's some prostitute on the side of the street. And I'm good. I'm just going to move on from that one after that, okay? Generation 6. There are a lot of really good designs for Generation 6 Pokemon. There really are. To the point where even all the Megas look really, really good. So which one am I going to pick? I'm obviously going to pick Inkay. Difficult choice, to be completely honest with you. Actually, it's going to be Pangoro, and I'll tell you why. Pangoro is, quite honestly, probably the most disappointing design I think I've seen in a long time. I think Pangoro, literally they just thought, oh, little panda evolves into big panda, but they didn't really expand on it more than that. I think that's kind of what I think about when I think of Pangoro. I think there was potential for Pancham to evolve into something a lot cooler, but it just didn't happen. And when I look at how many great designed Pokemon in here, obviously Greninja, one of the greatest Pokemon they've ever made. You've got legendaries, you've got all the Megas, you've got Malamar and Inkay. It has to be Pangoro, in my personal opinion. It's just Big Panda. That's it. That's what they thought of. Big Panda. Every game has done that. Generation 7. I think you guys might be upset about this answer, but it's obviously Alolan Persian. They took Persian, right? Persian's a pretty cool Pokemon, guys. We all agree that Persian's a pretty cool Pokemon. It's a strong, I know it's a cat Pokemon, and I hate on cat Pokemon, okay? But it's a super strong Pokemon. Everybody likes it. Alolan Persian, they took Persian, they made him look really derpy, and they kind of made him look a little bit flamboyant. Like, Persian is like, and this guy's like, hey. You know, there's a big difference between the two of them. Alolan Persian is just horribly designed, and Persian is actually a cool Pokemon. This thing is just, yeah, let's go shopping. And it just doesn't really work for me. Generation 8. Oh, we got some choices in here. But the obvious choice is Impidimp himself. I think Grimmsnarl's a really cool Pokemon. Not to mention, Grimmsnarl's G-Max form is actually one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Impidimp is just Impidimp. I have nothing more to say than, I mean, it looks like an imp, so they nailed the design. Doesn't change the fact that it's horrifying and made of absolute nightmare fuel. Generation 9. I do want to say something, and you guys might get mad at me, but it's just the truth. When I first saw the Generation 9 starters, I saw Fuecoco, I saw Sprigatito, and I saw Quaxley. And I liked 2 out of the 3. I did not like Sprigatito. It's just a generation, it's just a cat Pokemon. You know, it's the generational cat Pokemon, right? I don't care for that. They do that way too often. I think they need to stop doing just, it's a cat with different colors. And then Masquerada is what its final form was. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, okay, they made the cat stand on 2 feet, and that's it. And at the end of the day, I don't know what I'm even looking at anymore. Like, it's obviously still a cat, but it has arms now, it's got like leaves, and it's wearing a mask, and I just don't get it. I know it's a pretty good Pokemon, but I just don't like at all what they chose to do. I mean, they went from generic cat to like Phantom of the Opera almost, and it really doesn't make any sense to me why they chose to do that. Now, the best of the best. What is my favorite ugly one? Basically, what is the ugliest? And to be completely honest with you, I don't think I'm quite over why they ruined Alolan Persian so much. I think regular Persian really did look really cool, and this thing just looks terrible. It just doesn't really work for me whatsoever, and this is not a Pokemon I've ever been interested in using, whereas the rest of these, I've even used an Impidimp before. I would use a Pangoro. I would use a Darkrai, obviously, but that's all I can really get out of it. So at the end of the day, Alolan Persian was a disappointment. Those are the ugliest dark types of each Pokemon generation. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. And please subscribe if you're new. I'm going to try and get steel types out as soon as possible. I'll see you guys then. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. We know we have to talk about some ugly Pokemon today, and we decided that ugly Pokemon today would be all of the steel types ever created. I know I'm going to have some pretty difficult choices, but we are going to do our best because I generally think Steel-type Pokemon are some of the coolest and most well-designed Pokemon in the entire game. So let's get started with Generation 1, and this is a really, really tough choice, guys, because I don't know if I'm going to select 1 magnet or 3 magnets. I think the answer has to be just the 1 magnet, but I will say that 3 magnets probably is a little bit more displeasing to the eyes because there's 3 eyes on each of these magnets as well. So I'm actually going to go with 3 magnets here. Now, Generation 2, this is where we make some interesting choices. And this is where I have to sit and think for a minute. I generally think they took Onyx and turned him into Steelix, and it worked really well and it looked really cool. I generally think that Fortress, while it's not the greatest Pokemon in the world, is another Pokemon you kind of expected the evolution to look. It's got the cannons coming out, it's got the eyes in the middle, it's literally a fortress around the Pokemon inside, which I think is super cool. And don't get me started with Skarmory, dude. Skarmory is one of my favorite designs in the entire game. This thing looks absolutely incredible. Which one did I not talk about? Well, that's obviously Scizor. I think Scyther is one of the coolest designed Pokemon in the game, and then they took Scizor and they did this to him. They did this to our boy Scyther. They made him look 100% less cool, and it just really made me disappointed. It really did. Generation 3, hello there, Mawile. I was waiting for you Because I said before, and I've said it a million times over, and people still get mad at me for saying it. Oh, goodness. Did you guys hear that? I told you they were upstairs. I told you they were upstairs playing D&D. It's getting heated up there. It's getting heated up there. Anyway, I told you before, this is one of my least favorite Pokemon probably ever created. No one likes this thing, and if you do and you keep commenting and telling me why this thing is good, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just not going to be convinced. So I appreciate your diligence and your effort, but this thing is just too poorly designed for me to say anything nice about, and I think we can all at least agree that this is the ugliest Generation 3 Steel type. I have no clue why you're even a Steel type, and I have no clue why you're even in the game. That's my biggest issue here. Generation 4. Generation 4. I have some thoughts about one particular, never mind. We already know. Generation 5. You know, you can make a penguin with sharp claws. You can make a bug and give him jousting gear. You can make one of another million nut Pokemon and then evolve him into a bigger nut Pokemon. You can make a Pokemon that looks like Red Ranger and evolve into another Pokemon that looks like Red Ranger. You can make a Pokemon that's literally just a steel ant. And then you can make one of the coolest Pokemon ever, which is Genesect, and then you have Cobalion, and he's like, eh. But what you can't do is you can't make a Pokemon that's 2 gears, and then evolve him and add a 3rd gear, and then evolve him and add a 4th gear and a little thing around there. You cannot do that. So I'm going to give the ugly category to all 3 of Clink, Clang, and Klinklang, but I will say the absolute worst is probably Klinklang just because he's both names together, so he fits all 3. Moving on. Generation 6. This is the generation that introduced me to some of my absolute favorite Pokemon. Mega Lucario, one of my favorite Pokemon. Aegislash, one of my favorite designed Pokemon ever. Might actually be one of my favorite, other than probably Skarmory. But there's somebody in here. There's somebody in here I got a problem with. And that person that I have a problem with is obviously Mega Mawile. Oh, let's add another tail, head, mouth thing, whatever it's supposed to be. And people will think it looks cool all of a sudden. No, nobody did. Nobody did. Nobody did. Oh boy, that was a mistake. Hold on. There we are. Generation 8, it's Stack Attacker. I already kind of explained it in a past video, but I'll kind of explain it again. Let's say you're drawing a picture of a house. You're like 4 or 5 years old, and you're drawing a picture of a house. And you draw the picture of the house, and you go and you show it to your mom, and you're like, look, mom, look at this house I drew. Look at this house I drew. And your mom's like, oh my goodness, that looks so good. This is going on the fridge. This is going on the fridge. And then it looks like this. This is what it looks like. I mean, you realize, 10, 15 years later, not even, you realize probably 5 years later, that it's absolutely terrible, and your mom was just telling you that because she's your mom and she loves you and everything you can do is perfect. But at the end of the day, this is what it looks like. This is the house you drew. This is the house you were so proud of when you were a kid, and all the embarrassment starts coming through and you never draw again. Generation 8. Oh, I did it again. There we go. My scroll wheel's struggling. I'm struggling with my scroll wheel today. We got some good options, and we got some bad options, and we have some stuff that nobody cares about, and then we have Galarian Stunfisk. Moving on. Generation 9. I think a lot of people thought I'm maybe going to go for Tinkatink here, because it's literally just little girl with a hammer, little girl with a bigger hammer, and little girl with a giant hammer. But I actually think the Pokemon is actually pretty cool, and that's not that far off from other stuff that's been done in the past. I think you guys might also be thinking that I may be going for Vroom in Revel Room. Absolutely not. It is the best name for a Pokemon ever. It's literally an engine, and its name is Vroom. I love this thing. So that means it's somebody on this bottom row. And first off, I was actually caught by surprise when I found out that Gimmighoul could actually evolve. And when it evolved into Goldango, I was actually pretty happy. I thought it looked super cool. It was made out of gold because you were collecting its gold coins the entire game. And then we have Iron Treads. Not disappointed in Iron Treads, but they have like 4 Donphan forms in one game, and it makes no sense why they chose to do that. Like, why do you have 4 Donphan forms in one game? Just give us something else that could have been a cool form like this. And then we have King Gambit. I don't know if anybody asked for Bisharp to have an evolution, but no one's disappointed. King Gambit's a really cool and very, very effective and very good Pokemon. What does that leave? That leaves literally just a Steel Worm, because that's the best they could think of was a Steel Worm. That's it. They took Ekans, they gave him Steel, and threw him in the game. That's the best thing they could think of. Kind of disappointed in them. Well, Stack Attack will take the cake. I don't need to explain myself again. Thank you for watching. Let's do fairy types tomorrow. We are back. We are here. We are going to talk about the ugliest fairy type Pokemon in every single generation. And because I know you guys don't want this to be the last one, I'm also going to bring you the ugliest starter Pokemon, the ugliest gimmick forms, and the ugliest legendary Pokemon. So do not miss out. I will be releasing all of those as well. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the ugliest fairy type Pokemon that have ever existed. And we're going to get started with a very easy one. I like Mr. Mime. I like that the whole goal was for him to look like Charlie Chaplin mixed with a clown. The problem is, and if you've been watching the rest of these videos, you understand, I got a problem with clowns. So we're moving on. Generation 2. It is, quite honestly, Snubbull. I like that Snubbull is supposed to be a bulldog. I grew up with three bulldogs. I love them. They can be very annoying and they can snore at times, but they're very lovable, very, very loyal dogs. But I will say that Snubbull, first of all, nobody asked for Snubbull to be a fairy type. But second of all, Granbull really was good. Like, Granbull's like, okay, this thing looks pretty cool. But Snubbull's just like a pink, tiny little bulldog with like a dress on. I don't know what they were going with. It's got 4 ears. I think they messed up there. Granbull's a lot cooler. Not a lot of choices, but this is here. Because for whatever reason, they thought that adding fairy typing to Mawile was a good decision. And that it would make people want to use it. It didn't work. It didn't work. I have a choice between Mime Jr. and Togekiss. Togekiss is cool. Mime Jr. is the choice. Oh, look at that, guys. Which one do I choose? I think, honestly, Whimsicott's actually a pretty bad evolution for a Pokemon that's just a cotton ball for this to appear. I'm going Whimsicott. Now we have some choices. We've got all the Flabébé forms, all the Floette forms, and all the Florges forms. We have Aromatisse, Slurpuff, that's Spritzel, and whatever you are, Sylveon, Diancie, Carbink, Dedenne, Klefki, Xerneas, and Mega Audino, and so on. I honestly think, and I've said this before, if they took Aromatisse out of the game, do you think anyone would notice? Let me know in the comments below. Because I have a pretty good feeling that Aromatisse could be taken out of the game and removed from the Pokedex forever, and no one would know that it's gone. That's all I need to explain. Generation 7. There are some really good designs for Generation 7. And then there are the disappointing Tapus. Tapu Koko is not a very good design. It really just isn't. And I know you guys are going to get really mad at me, and it's because I'm totally joking. It's obviously, and I already forgot its name, this thing that's literally just a Hawaiian lei that's been possessed. Also, I heard a cool theory on this, that this Pokemon, Comfey is its name. Comfey is its name. Yeah, Comfey is its name. is that Comfey, it might be a regional variant of Klefki, because both of them are known for basically possessing things that they like. Klefki likes keys, and Comfey likes flowers and lays, I guess. So it kind of works. I think that's a cool theory. Doesn't change the fact that this thing is literally just a lay. Generation 8. I talked about Impotent before, but there is another Pokemon that takes the cake, and that is obviously Hatterene. This thing is literally just a bunch of hats with a horrifying creature inside of that orifice of hats. Like, does that face not give you nightmares? Because it does for me. 100%. Not interested in ever using that Pokemon my entire life. And then we've got Generation 9. And there are some difficult choices to be made. Because I love Fido and Darkspun. I do. I really do. I like the Tinkatink line. These three are Paradox forms. Doesn't change the fact that Fluttermane is just Misdreavus with a little bit more hair. And so is Screamtail. They both are. So which one do I actually dislike the most? Which one am I actually like, no, I don't like this at all? I'm going to go with Screamtail because I've already picked on Fluttermane in the past. You took Jigglypuff, you changed the color of its eyes, and you gave it hair, and you said, hey, this is a cool Paradox form. No one thinks this thing is cool, and nobody's interested in using it. No one. No one. So what's the ugliest? You know what? I'm going to stand by this, and it's going to be interesting for me to not say that this is the worst one, because I've said it millions of times over. But Aromatisse, if you took it out of the game, nobody would notice, and I think people would be grateful once they found out. Thank you for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new. We might potentially be able to hit 500 subscribers. Let's see how it goes. I'll see you then. Welcome back to Wigs Gaming. Today, we are going to be very serious, and we are in serious mode to talk about the ugliest starter Pokemon that have ever been created. There's going to be some tough choices, but why don't we just go ahead and get into it? What are the ugliest starter Pokemon in all Pokemon generations? Well, because I decided to portray a serious nature for this video, I will be sure to make sure that I give a serious explanation as to why these starter Pokemon are ugly. For Generation 1, we have a Bulbasaur, an Ivysaur, and a Venusaur as our choices, because I like Squirtle and I like Charmander, and I do like Bulbasaur, but at the end of the day, I'm not counting these two, and I think, honestly, that Venusaur is really ugly. Now, you guys might wonder why I chose Venusaur, and what I'd like you guys to do is to go into YouTube and type in Venusaur running in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. If you look at the way Venusaur moves in that game, he hops like a frog. And the nightmare fuel that I have thinking about that is more than enough for me to say that Venusaur is the ugliest. Generation 2, there are two really, really good lines of starters, and then there's Meganium. No one cares about Meganium. Generation 3. This is the most difficult choice, and I say this because I love all three Generation 3 starters. I think they're all really well designed, they're extremely powerful, and they have so many amazing things going for them, and the fact that they made all of them have a Mega Evolution made it that much more special to me. It made it that much more awesome for that to be the case. Now, with that being said, I think at the end of the day, what I want to do is I want to say that most likely it is obviously Combusken, and I've kind of explained it 1.5 million times in the past, but let's just explain it one more time. If you took the arms off this thing, you're literally looking at a penis. Generation 4. In Generation 4, I think we have another difficult choice. I think all of the Generation 4 starters are really, really awesome, but the ugliest one by far and beyond is quite obviously Prinplup. Prinplup to Empoleon wasn't really that big of a change. I think Empoleon looks really cool because it has the steel typing that's added to it, but Prinplup is just a bigger penguin. Generation 5 is a pretty easy choice. A lot of people like to hate on T-Pig as well as Pignite and Emboar because of the fact that it's another firefighting type. But at the end of the day, I actually think it's still really well designed, as is Oshawott, Duat, and Samurott. But then you have Snivy that basically just turns into a snake. And I feel bad for Snivy for turning into a snake. I think it would have been really cool if they gave superior dragon typing because it turned into a snake and it reminded us a lot of Dragonair, but that just didn't end up happening. Generation 6 is where things get actually even easier because at the end of the day, while Chestnut is kind of a cool Pokemon, Chespin is, who he is. What is the middle form's name again? I have forgotten what the middle form's name is, but at the end of the day, he is really fat. Like, really, really fat. And it looks like when he becomes Chestnut that he puts on some muscle, because as you can see with the shell there, if you took the shell off, he's definitely a lot leaner than this form of Chespin's second form here. He's just very fat, and he needs to hit the gym. And he will one day, but he has not yet. He also just looks like a monkey wearing a costume. Like, you go from monkey wearing a hat to monkey in a costume to actual something cool with a shell. I think they just really messed up there. He does look happy, but he shouldn't be happy. If you're fat, you need to get in shape. You should not be happy with being fat. You will die. Generation 7. Generation 7 has some really cool Pokemon that are starters, and then they have a cat and a bigger cat. Generation 8 has another group of really good starter Pokemon, and then they have this guy. Rillaboom is a cool Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but this guy, not feeling it. Not feeling it at all. And because I'm being completely serious, I just don't care for it at all. They've done multiple monkey Pokemon that have been pretty underwhelming. I think Rillaboom is pretty cool. I think you are Grookey. Grookey, you're not that cool. And last but not least, we have Generation 9. And obviously, I'll copy your homework a little bit, and I'll give you the exact same Pokemon 2 generations later. So what is the ugliest? Well, no explanation is needed. That has been a serious edition of the ugliest starter Pokemon that have ever been invented. I'm sure you guys have already shut off the video by now. My normal self will be back for the next video. Have a great day, and please subscribe so that we can hit 500 by the time this video and many others are out. Take care. It's time to talk about some gimmick forms. And you know what? I kind of like the idea of this because I've never actually done and looked at all of these until pretty much right now. So what are the ugliest gimmick forms in all of Pokemon? Well, to be completely honest with you, I don't know. But we're going to find out right now. So without further ado, let's talk about the ugliest gimmick forms that have ever been invented. And we're going to start, obviously, Generation 1. We've got Megas. We've got G-Max forms as well. The ugliest Mega / G-Max form for Generation 1 is quite obviously Gengar. Gengar, quite simply, just opens up his mouth really, really loud and really, really largely. And I just finished doing the serious video, and I'm sitting here still doing the serious bit like that's what I'm supposed to do. Hold on. Let me take a sip of water. Hold on. We're going to be real good. 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Gengar's just an abomination. Like, at the end of the day, how could you sit here and say, oh, this is a cool idea. People are going to like this. No one enjoyed this. Generation 2, it's obviously Mega Scizor. No, it's not. It's Mega Heracross. It's Mega Heracross, man. When you introduce Megas and you give one of the best Pokemon in the entire game, one of the most loved Pokemon in the entire game, a Mega Evolution, and you take away everything that's cool about Heracross, that's where Mega Heracross comes from. I was so disappointed I didn't even want to use it. Generation 3. Oh, look at this. Let's take Mawile, a Pokemon everybody hates, and just give it another random head, tail, mouth thing. Great idea. Generation 4. What's the worst gimmick form? Just a few Megas here. Just a few Megas here. It is probably Mega Abomasnow. Nobody asked for it. Abomasnow is a really cool Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of went from looking like a Yeti to looking like just a big blob with a bunch of fur. I don't really know what they were going with. I like Abomasnow, but that didn't work. Generation 6. Oh. Oh, what did they do to you, buddy? Oh, no. What have they done to you? My poor trash boy. What have they done? I've never seen this before. Is this a G-Max form? What did they do to him? How dare you do this to him? Generation 6. We have all the Megas we're allowed to choose from. It's obviously Mega Heracross. Generation 7. Okay, so we get some Alolan forms. Okay. We get some Megas as well. No, I think we just get Alolan forms is all we get to choose from. Okay, okay. Well, it is probably then... what is it? Is it Alolan Persian? Or is it... I like the rest of these. I do, including Executor. I'm going Alolan Persian. I think they really just took a really cool Pokemon, which is what Persian was. They just made it look very derpy, and they just ruined it, to be honest, for me, because of that. And I have... no other explanation more than that. Like they just took its face and they just made it look like Garfield. And why on earth would you? Maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe they wanted it to look like Garfield. I don't know. It looks terrible. Generation 8. Now we have all the G-Max forms and some Galarian forms and some Hisuian forms as well. I have to scroll over to get all these. I can't even get all these on one screen. Honestly, I think I want to focus more on G-Max forms. It's one thing if you change the design altogether and make it look really cool. It's another thing if you just take it and you make it bigger, which is what they did with a lot of these. They made, this Corviknight just became bigger. Turtle Boy just became bigger. Kufant, I think is his name, just became bigger. Tower Guy just became bigger. Eternatus turned into a hand. They have definitely messed up a little bit. But actually, I'm not going to focus on the G-Max forms because Galarian Ponyta is a thing. And at the end of the day, why is this what they went with? Did anybody ask for this? Nobody asked for this. Generation 9. I want to say, so just so you guys are aware, I have used the username Wigs for going on maybe 10 years at this point. So when they take Diglett and they change his name to Wiglet, I'm like, this Pokemon is for me, man. I got to use this thing. This Pokemon is for me, right? And unfortunately for me, this thing sucks. And so when I played Pokemon Scarlet for the first time, I had a Wiglet on my team. And it was slow, or maybe was able to get one move off because it was fast enough, and then get one shot by everything, whether I was 10 levels above it or not. Same with Wugtrio. It was really disappointing for a Pokemon that I thought was going to be really cool, and I really only liked it because of the name, because it was basically, it was destined for me to have that Pokemon, you know what I mean? For it to be called Wiglet, I have to use it, you know what I mean? But it didn't matter. Didn't matter. Not to mention, if I evolve Wiglet, I can nickname it Wigs because it's 3 of them. It's perfect. It works perfectly. But, unfortunately, that didn't work out. Wiglet sucked, and it's definitely the worst of all of them. But what is the worst of the worst? Well, it's Mega Heracross. Can't get over it. Really disappointed. Really, really disappointed. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Here's the list. I'm scrolling up slowly. Scrolling up slowly. There it is. We're going to do the ugliest legendaries next. See you guys then.